Calling this regular meeting of City Council to order on Tuesday, wrong date, February 27th, 2024 at 7 p.m. If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Madam Secretary.
Yes. President Roggency?
Here.
Vice President McGee? Here. Secretary Moore is here. Mayor Pro Tem and Assistant Secretary Dwyer?
Here.
Mr. Boyke?
Present.
Mr. Noonan?
Here.
Mr. Lafferty?
Here.
You have a quorum, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Next item.
Next item is for adoption of the consent agenda. So moved.
Support Lafferty.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Boyke?
Yes.
Hold on, we have to go back. Hold on.
Okay. Reverse
Yes, I have to add two items, sorry.
to the consent.
Yes. Consent, request to approve the demolition of house and garage located at 24134 Loretta through the nuisance abatement program. Set a public hearing date for March 26th, 2024, and that will be item K, 4K on the consent. And request of the police department to purchase 5 2023 Dodge Durango AWD pursuit vehicles from Van Dyke Dodge in the total amount of $144,906. Let's put that on the regular agenda. I'll do that at the regular agenda.
Okay.
So we're just adding, and then item 4G on the consent, it should say, it's the United States Eastern District Court case, not 37th District Court.
Okay. Makers of the motion approve
Without
those
objection.
amendments? Yes. Excellent. Okay. Any discussion? Okay. Hearing none. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Boyke?
Yes.
Mr. Noonan?
Works for me.
Ms. McGee?
Yes.
Rogan C is a yes. Motion carries. Next item.
Next item is adoption of the agenda. So moved with discussion.
Support Lafferty.
Discussion, Madam Secretary.
Yes. We are going to add request of the police department to purchase 5 2023 Dodge Durango all-wheel drive pursuit vehicles, et cetera, as item 14A. And resolution approving DTE overhead and underground easement at 30637 Shaner, and to waive the reconsideration period of council's action on this item. That will be item 14B. And just as a note, an issue came up during the construction of the fire station, necessitating moving some poles. That's why we had to put it on last minute. And also the item purchasing vehicles, that was because they became available and you have to grab them when you can get them. So that's why they were late being put on the agenda from the administration. And just a note that when we go to announcements, Judge Chimura has an earlier event this evening, so if he's not here at that time, I will table 10A, and then whenever he shows up, we'll add that during the regular agenda, if that works for everybody.
Any further discussion?
Madam President, just a point of order. The screens for communications, the screens are not showing the meeting, but they're showing some, an agenda. I'm not sure what's being shown here. Thank you.
Do the makers of the motion accept those additions?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Moore?
Yes?
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Boyke?
Yes.
Mr. Noonan?
Yes.
Ms. McGee?
Yes.
Brogan C is a yes. Yes. Next item.
Next item is 6A, calendar of pending matters. Motion to receive and file with discussion.
Support Lafferty with discussion.
Discussion, Madam Secretary.
Yes. I would like to reiterate, we have requests on this dating back to 12/12/23. We have asked for documents and for the new council people, we do have a court order that Mr. Schroeder can correct me if I make a mistake, but the court order says that council gets what it asks for. Anything that's in the possession of the city, council can have. We don't have to FOIA it, we get it. So there's an item on here that we asked for the procedures for the Civil Service Commission. They met, they didn't notice the meeting, and they violated the Open Meetings Act by doing it, but they did create and updated their rules and procedure. They were signed off by the commission. We've asked for that, we've not gotten it. We've not gotten the meeting notice or the agenda from that date. We have requested all agreements with QSEN Technologies. We've received none of that. And, there's other items about Munico before. We have we've been, I think, worked very well with the administration. They're learning how to send things over, and not everything is timely. We have a cutoff on Wednesday, but we've not held them to that. We were trying to work with them, but this has got to be a two-way street. We haven't gotten one single thing we've asked for, and that's just not right. It's not fair, and we're going to continue to be cooperative, but I think there should be a little, should be give and take, not just give on our part. 10 days. Yeah, the city has 10 days to comply with anything we request. So that was 12/19, so 10 days from there would have been the 29th of December. It's now, 8 weeks away, or almost 8 weeks. So I would reiterate my request for these items. And I don't know if they're not getting maybe to the right person, maybe that, we do it like we've always done it. I don't know if maybe they're just not getting it, or they're just ignoring it, or I'm not sure what the problem is, but.
Through the chair,
One.
Yeah,
Ms. Moore.
yeah, and I think Mr. Lafferty was.
Yeah, Mr. Lafferty and Mr. Noonan. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Ms. Moore did reiterate at least one of the items that I'm still waiting for. That also includes a request for the 2 telecommunications agreements that govern the communications towers that are on this property, the Warren Community Center. Those agreements are set to expire, and I had worked previously with Laura Sullivan in the city attorney's office on graduated pricing and not giving back over $1 million to these telecommunications companies. The original proposal that we had received was to discount our rates by $1 million, and we had stopped that. This previous council had stopped that action. I worked with the city attorney's office to work on amendments for those agreements, and the process has since stalled. So very interested. We need to get our arms around that to understand what are the terms and conditions, when are those agreements going to terminate, and what is the future. We hold the land, we hold the lease agreements, and we can dictate the terms and conditions to the telco companies that lease the tower space on that property. So very important that we get that addressed.
Thank you, Mr. Lafferty. Mr. Noonan?
yes. Ms. Moore, while I was, Secretary Moore, while I was listening, it sounded like you were saying that the city council can get anything it wants. And I think that it might be more accurate to say any information that it requests from the city?
Anything, any piece of paper that's in this,
Yeah.
that's in the city, council can get.
Right.
And
But-
we can't,
yeah.
not confidential personnel information, like,
Of course.
social security numbers or
HIPAA.
anything protected by any federal law or, why don't you talk about it, Mr. Schroeder? You're-
Sure, I
Go
felt,
ahead.
we went through some lengthy litigation over obtaining documents for the city council. City council is the governing body of the city. You're all city officers here and have a right to city documents. The procedure that we negotiated and it's in a court order, is that the council, by formal resolution, will ask for records. And this is how we've been doing it. Through the council makes a formal resolution. This prevents council members from showing up at City Hall at a counter and saying, I want these records and I want that record. You got to come to council. You have to put it in the form of a resolution. That's a formal request. It's transmitted to the administration. And then the administration has 10 days to produce those records. Secretary Moore, much like myself, remembers the days when everything was on paper. It's not just a piece of paper. Any document that the city possesses. And the city has 10 days to produce that. But if it's an extensive request, the court order says that the council secretary shall work with the mayor's office to come up with a production schedule. If it was a, quite a large request and they couldn't do it within 10 days. And of course, we're not supposed to use this to harass or overburden anybody in the city to ask for records. But from what I'm hearing, we have simple documents that are being requested. So again, you bring it to council, council asks for it. That prevents individual council members from making requests. Now, of course, as an individual, if you want to make a FOIA for documents, everybody has that right. So that's the procedure.
Yeah. I think your microphone.
Madam Chair, may I ask Jeff a follow-up on that? Mr. Schroeder, would you be willing to send us an email, maybe through Mary, stating all those terms so that we can keep that for our future reference? Better? Thank you so much. That's all I had to say.
Any additional discussion?
Madam Chair? I think it might be a good idea if we were to send a copy of all of the orders and maybe with an explanation so that the administration knows what we've already litigated and what the rules are, so.
We have new members of
Your-
council. I'll copy.
Your mic is off.
I can certainly do that. I would also copy in the entire council on that, so the new members have copies of all the orders, and we know kind of where we stand on everything.
And if we need to have a committee meeting of the whole
Yeah.
to have all those things explained, we can. We're going to have one on Dodge Street, and we can maybe combine that if we need to, because, everybody on here needs to know what happened there. And there's a couple other issues that, we have some other marijuana issues that we're going to have to talk about, so.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry. Got another one. And that is, if the city council has voted on ordinances and passed them, and, but the city clerk has not put them on Muni Code, are they still valid for commissions to follow?
Through the chair. So these 8 ordinances were adopted, they were published, they are considered valid upon publication. The issue is the placement in Municode, because that's where the public goes to look up ordinances. So if you go to Municode, you don't see it there. But yet, legally, they were adopted by council. They were survived the veto process and everything, were published in a newspaper. They're just not in Municode, so you can't find it there. So there's a transparency problem. And also, the clerk's office has not assigned an ordinance number at the top. So that's just a number that the clerk's office assigns to each ordinance. It's 80-something. It's not the number of the ordinance when you look up a section number. Each individual ordinance has an ordinance number that the clerk's office assigns. So, they're valid. They're legal, valid, enforceable ordinances. You just can't find them on Municode.
Thank you.
So when it comes to contractors, they should have to follow, isn't there a contractor ordinance?
There is a responsible contracting ordinance that is applicable to a number of departments that I've met with the purchasing department and the legal department to try to make some additional changes to it through an amendment, but it is an ordinance that has been published and duly adopted by this body.
So planning and purchasing should be following those, right?
Yes, but it does not include everything.
Oh.
Lowest bidder still is for a number of purchasing items.
Madam Chair, when we passed that, we knew that there were some things that were going to have to be changed, but we had no cooperation at the time. The purchasing, nobody was allowed to talk to us, but we wanted it on the book. So we did the best we could, knowing that down the road, we probably would have to make a few modifications, so.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Hi, Ms. Michaels.
I'm sorry. Madam Chair, if I may,
Sure.
Mayor Stone is very much inclined and interested in working out all issues regarding the ordinances. They were adopted during Mayor Fout's tenure, and going forward, she wants to be able to work with council on, merging the interest and working out ordinances that both the council and the administration could operate and function. So we plan on sitting down with Mr. Schroeder and trying to negotiate what ordinances could be published in MuniCode. They will be. And what needs changed, we'll work with Mr. Schroeder so council could be, we'll make sure council is amenable.
Thank you.
Okay? Thank you.
Madam Chair. Ms. Michaels, are you here speaking on behalf of the mayor?
I'm the
You've
acting,
taken a new role,
if I may, it's a project that I'm working on that the mayor asked me to work on.
okay, but you're
Thank you.
speaking for the mayor today, just so I know. Because you worked
Ms.
against
Moore.
council in the previous term, any litigation, you took an adversarial role against this council.
No.
That's why I'm asking what your position is tonight.
Madam Secretary, I'm here just to address Mayor Stone's concerns regarding the ordinance and councils.
And so
I'm
you're
with
speaking
the
here on
city
behalf of the
attorney's
mayor?
office.
That's all I wanted.
I'm representing the
Thank you.
city. I'm representing the city.
Well, actually, according to the charter, you report to the council. So anyway, I'm confused, but that's,
Item 6A, any other discussion? Ms. Moore?
yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Boyke?
Yes.
Mr. Noonan?
Yes,
Ms. McGee?
Yes.
Rogan C. is a yes. Motion carries. Next item.
Next item is 7A, approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of February 13th, 2024. So moved.
Support Dwyer.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Mr. Boyke?
Yes.
Mr. Noonan?
yes,
Ms. McGee?
Yes.
Rogan C. is a yes. Motion carries. Next item.
Next item is 7B, approval of the minutes of the special meeting of February 20th, 2024. So moved.
Support Dwyer.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Boyke?
Yes.
Mr. Noonan?
yes,
Ms. McGee?
Yes.
Rogan C. is a yes. Motion carries. Next item.
Next item is 8A, approval of the bills of the General Revenue Fund. So moved with discussion.
Support Lafferty.
Discussion, Ms. Moore.
Thank you. Just to, so everyone knows, there are some large number of wire transfers. There is one for $15,252.55. That is the repair of a city vehicle. There's another item for $17,362.68. That is also for the repair of a city vehicle. There's an amount of $15,798.87, repair of a city vehicle. $14,527.30. That is for the case of Germany, payable to Barry Mormon. A check for $25,744, also to Barry Mormon, in the Jennings case. Thank you. That's all for me.
Any additional discussion? Hearing none. Call the question. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Boyke?
Yes.
Mr. Noonan?
yes,
Ms. McGee?
Yes.
Rogan C. is a yes. Motion carries. Next item.
Next item is 8B, approval of the bills of the water and sewer system. So moved.
Support Lafferty.
Any discussion? Hearing none. I'll call the question. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Boyke?
Yes.
Mr. Noonan?
yes,
Ms. McGee?
Yes.
Rogan C. is a yes. Motion carries. Next item.
8C, receive and file the general fund revenue report.
Support.
Is that a motion, Ms.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
Support Lafferty.
All in favor?
Aye.
aye,
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item.
8D, motion to receive and file the general fund expenditure report.
Support Lafferty.
Is that a motion, Ms. Moore? Yes, sir.
Motion
Okay.
to receive.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item.
Next item is audience.
Members of the audience who would like to address City Council this evening may do so under the audience portion by filling out an audience form located at the right side of the stage. This is a reminder that per our council rules and procedures, you must write your name and address on the form or give your address at the podium. You have 3 minutes, and this is to address items specific to agenda items only. There is additional audience at the end. First is Mr. Bell.
Jerry Bell. I'm very much disturbed with you, Councilwoman Mindy Moore.
Mr. Bell, you have to address an agenda item for this.
This is about the agenda item. This is about what she just tried to pull with the lawyer from the city. Okay, don't
agenda
stop
item?
me. Let me talk first.
We have rules.
I don't have to state what agenda item.
Yes,
I'm
you do.
speaking on it.
Yes, you do.
Okay, I'm speaking on it. Okay?
Which agenda item are you
You're
speaking?
not going to waste my time because you want to control the narrative of this conversation.
wanna control the
You're not going to
narrative,
do
Mr. Bell.
that.
What
Well,
I-
let me speak then.
The audience portion.
Let me speak so you can hear me.
Continue to interrupt me, Mr. Bell,
Let
the
me
chair of
speak.
this
No,
meeting.
you're on my time. This is my
Bell?
time. I'm not interrupting you. I have 3 minutes. Are you going to give it to me, or are you going to try to silence me again?
Mr. Bell,
Miss Rogancy, can I speak,
you can
please?
sit down and you can speak at the end of the meeting with the audience.
No, I'm here on my time. I'm trying to speak. I haven't even gotten hardly any words out.
You started by attacking a member of
It
this
don't
council.
matter.
It
You
does
guys
matter.
got elected to
Can you
do a
please
job.
Excuse Mr.
You
Bell.
got elected to do a job. And if you can't take the heat, get out the kitchen. I'm trying to
Next
speak,
is
please.
Mr. Sutliff.
As I was saying,
Mr. Bell,
as I
speak
was
at the end of the
saying,
meeting. Your time is up.
you all know what you're doing.
Mr. Bell, your time is up.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Sutliff. Thank you. Next is announcements.
Madam Chair, I would make a motion to table 10A until later in the agenda.
Support to table.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
The next item is 10B, Eagle Scout recognition for Ryan Rudd and Braden Delecky.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Lafferty.
Thank you. Everyone might remember that we had several Boy Scouts in the audience just a couple of meetings ago, and those young men were obtaining their Eagle Scout credit, and they have both completed their credit for obtaining the Eagle Scout role, and the Warren City Council has offered 2 resolutions to honor them. These resolutions will be presented in person on Saturday at an awards recognition ceremony at St. Malachi Church following Mass. So I will be representing them and presenting them to these 2 fine young men. So I'm not going to read them into the record, but I do want to congratulate Ryan William Rudd and Braden John Dolecki, and they both represent Boy Scouts of America Troop 1927 here at the City of Warren, hosted through Wild Elementary School. So congratulations to these 2 young men.
Thank you. Any additional announcements? 10C?
Motion to approve the 2 Eagle Scout resolutions.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
10C, tribute to Kingsley and Lurleen Sears. I don't believe they're here. Gina Cavalier is here and her husband Joe. I don't know if you want to accept this for them? No? Okay. They're big supporters of the Sears. I think everybody knows Kingsley Sears and his wife Lurleen. They have just been outstanding residents of this community. They have been generous with their time and their support of so many things in this city, and they have been honored many times. But today is a very special honor because not only have they lived in Warren for 61 years, but actually, tomorrow, I believe, is their 70th, it's the 28th, right? Yeah. Yes, this says the 27th, but it's the 28th. They are celebrating their 70th wedding anniversary.
Wow.
So we want to congratulate them, and that's such a tribute to both of them. They're just wonderful, wonderful people, and we're lucky to have them here. So, motion to approve.
Support with discussion.
Discussion?
I just wanted to add, they live in District 2.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item.
Next item is 10D, Warren Professional Firefighters Recognition for Lieutenant Hans Sievert, FEO Medic Greg Ford, Firefighter Medic Dylan Thrift, Firefighter Medic Mike Carney, and Firefighter Medic Ryan Laschek. On Christmas morning, gentlemen, if you would come forward, please. On Christmas morning, this past year, former Councilman Gary Watts and I were at Station 1, and two of the firefighters had held over, which means you stay a little while until someone shows. It was Christmas morning. I think two of the people coming on shift were at home with their children Christmas morning, but they got a run to on Republic, and it was a young man who was fleeing a domestic situation in the home into the street, and he was shot in the back twice. And we were sitting there and heard the transmission, there's blood everywhere. And, you know, they went and treated this young man in the middle of the street, and they saved his life. And what made me want to do this, they do great things all the time, and they save lives every day. But there was a newspaper article about the incident, and it talked about what happened, and the mention of was EMS transported the victim to the hospital, and they did so much more than that. They performed life-saving measures in the middle of the street, and then transported him to St. John, Maine, where they took over and said that these brave men had saved this young man's life. So I just thought it was worthy of bringing you all here, and so that you know how we feel about you, how appreciative we are. We appreciate what you do every day. We're all safer and better because of you.
You want me to say something? Yeah, I would like to. I'd like to thank you. I mean, you're thanking me, but we'd like to thank you because we're just one link in this chain, and we're only as strong as the weakest link, you know, and the public that supports us is a big link. Our elected officials, the city council, you're a big link. Our administration that supports us, and the mayor's office, it's all a link in this chain that resulted in the survival of this person. We can't save everybody, but we were able to save this person, and I'm not exaggerating. 2 more minutes, and it would have been a different outcome. You know, so everything with our training and our equipment, everything that we have, you know, makes a difference. So I really appreciate what you do, and the support that we have is amazing, so thank you.
Well, Ms. Moore, is there a motion and support to approve the resolution?
Motion to approve the resolutions for the Warren Professional Firefighters.
Thank you.
Support Dwyer.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
She did.
It's okay. Public hearing.
Oh, yeah, no, I have one more announcement.
Okay.
I just wanted to note that there was a FOIA meeting scheduled for today that was canceled. The FOIA was originally denied, and it was reversed, and I think we're going to have to discuss some of our policies on FOIA, because we're running into situations where items are being denied in FOIA, and they're being overturned by either us or the court. And I think we need to look at them a little bit more closely. And I did want to make an announcement. Somebody was here last week, or 2 weeks ago, talking about a used car lot, and they were told that there's a moratorium on used car lots. There is not a moratorium. There was years ago, but there is not currently a moratorium.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Lafferty.
Thank you. Just another reminder about the Sweetheart Dance taking place on Sunday, March 3rd. You have until tomorrow to register for the Sweetheart Dance. This is not just for dads and daughters, as it has in the past. This is for dads and daughters, mothers and sons, fathers and friends, and mothers and others to bring their sweethearts, and there is no age limit. So I got a couple of questions after the last meeting asking what the age limit is. If you are anywhere between 0 and 100 plus, and so maybe Kingsley and his wife will be there as the sole couple on the dance floor celebrating 70 years. So please do register with the Parks and Rec Department, 586-268-8400. That event is on March 3rd. It's $20 for Warren residents and $25 for non-residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further announcements? Hearing none. Next item.
Next item is 11A, which is a public hearing, subdivision lot split and combination request located on the northeast corner of 10 Mile and Shaner Roads, Section 24, 25028, 25036, 25058 Shaner Road, Fairmount Properties LLC, David Rhea, Boss Engineering, Christopher Fergus, petitioner.
Is the petitioner here? Can you introduce yourself for the record?
Good evening. My name is David Rhea from Fairmount Properties.
Can you tell us a little bit about the project?
Yes, this is our request to create from 5 parcels, 3 parcels of real estate at the northeast corner of 10 Mile and Shaner. It's to facilitate the redevelopment of the corner from its current use as an auto repair building into an oil change. So we're adding additional land behind to allow cars to enter from the rear of the building. It has been approved by the Planning Commission. I believe they do have a permit as well.
Thank you. Any questions?
After you close the public hearing, I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone from the audience have any public comment on this item? No. Okay. Close the public hearing. Turn it over to council for action.
Thank you. Madam Chair, motion to approve with discussion.
Support anyone?
Support Dwyer.
Support McGee. Mr. Lafferty.
Thank you. Through the chair to Mr. Worth, please.
Good evening, Council. Councilman Lafferty.
Good evening, sir. I'm going to place the blame on former Councilman Gary Watts. It was his turn to go to that meeting. I was otherwise occupied that evening. And so I only have one question, actually. Is this lot split in combination, are we changing the egress and ingress either onto Shaner or 10 Mile?
No,
Okay.
no, there'll be ingress, egress on both roadways from that oil change location on the corner.
Okay, so only the traffic pattern within the reconfigured parcels, that we're essentially making room by combining the lots.
Yes.
If I understand it
there is-
correctly.
There is some of that. A lot of it has to, part of it, I should say, has to do with a vehicle going in from the south side of the building, being served, exiting the north side of the building, and that's where they needed some extra room to make a turn to go out to Shaner Road.
Okay. That makes perfect sense to me. I mean, this is pretty standard. This is one of the lesser complicated ones.
It is. This is part of a site plan approval requirement of the site plan, so
All right.
one step further and closer to development.
All right, and I did see this was a conditional approval. Is there anything notable within the conditions?
Excuse me? What?
I did see this was a conditional
Oh.
approval, as opposed to a straight approval. So what, was there anything notable in the conditions that stood out?
These are, this I'm not understanding, these are you talking about what are you talking about? The lot split, or are you talking about the site plan approval
The
document?
lot split
Okay.
had conditions.
All right, and they're conditional, and they have to meet the conditions within a year. I think that's indicated there.
Okay, yeah, my question is more towards, was there anything that was out of the ordinary that required the conditional approval versus, I know your preference is always to go for a straight-through, approval, and where there are conditions, there's usually some extraneous circumstances that present themselves where you need the conditions.
No, it's what's required in this particular case, not a problem
Okay,
with those conditions.
all right, fair enough.
All right,
Thank you, sir.
sorry about that.
I have no further questions.
Any other?
Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, I will call the question. Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Ms. McGee? Yes. Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Boyke?
Yes.
Mr. Noonan?
Yes.
Secretary Moore?
Yes.
Brogan C is a yes. Motion carries. Next item.
Next item is 12A, proposed resolution to revoke industrial facilities exemption, certificate number 2014-269 Niagara LaSalle Corporation, located at 21750 Hoover, Warren, Michigan. Consideration and adoption of a resolution.
So moved.
Support Lafferty.
Any discussion?
Discussion, Madam Chair.
Councilmember Lafferty.
I don't see Mr. Bomarito. Is there anybody from the administration that can speak to this? Perhaps Ms. Michaels? Good evening. One question for you. This is the first step in the process for us to begin the process. What is the general turnaround time that we'll hear back from the state as to the revocation and any reconciliation of funds between the entity and the city?
I would estimate about 6 months to hear from the state. Last time we did this, we received the certificates within months. They have a hearing. They give the petitioner, the developer, owner, an opportunity to attend and contest the revocation, but I doubt that that'll be the case here.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's see. Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Mr. Boyke?
Yes.
Mr. Noonan?
Yes.
Ms. McGee?
Yes.
Ms. Moore? Yes. I called Mr. Noonan. Brogan C is a yes. Motion carries. Next item.
Next item is 12B, request of Detroit Bud Company located at 23295 Blackstone, Warren, Michigan, for a 60-day extension of license. So moved with discussion.
Support Lafferty.
Discussion?
Yes, there are some issues with this. It's why we put it on for a 60-day extension, and the building department's going to deal with it. I spoke with Mr. Murphy today, so we'll just approve the extension, and then we'll figure out in the next couple of weeks what they're going to do.
Any additional discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Boyke?
Yes.
Mr. Noonan?
Yes.
Ms. McGee?
Yes.
Rogan sees a yes. Motion carries. Next item.
Next item is 12C, request to ratify the one-year contract extension between the Warren Police Officer Association and the City of Warren. So moved with discussion.
Support Dwyer.
Discussion, Madam Secretary.
Thank you. I'm very happy we have this one-year extension, and this contract contains some language that many of us have really been pushing for the last several years, including Treasurer Barnwell and those of us that sit on the pension board. And that is duty, disability, survivorship, health care benefit. I think that's really, really important that we're doing that. And to me, that's the most substantial item on this. President of the union is here, Mr. Sauger. I don't know if he wants to say anything.
Mr. Sauger?
Mr. Fox is here too.
Mr. Fox, would you like to speak on behalf of the administration?
Good evening, Council. Richard Fox, City Controller. As you know, we had a closed session to discuss this item, I think a week, but 10
Can
days
you speak
ago.
up a little bit, Rick? Sorry.
Yeah, so we had a closed session to discuss this about a week ago. I think it's a fair contract, it's a 1 year. And as Council Person Moore mentioned with regards to one of the items that was important for the union, I think important for the city to do was this duty, disability, survivorship, health care benefit option. And what that does is if an individual, a police officer gets hurt in a line of duty, can no longer perform their function, the city will maintain their health care until they either can get other employment where they would receive health care, but it takes care of them and their family from the time of their injury until they recover and pursue another career and get health care. So I think it's pretty important, and it was agreed upon, and I think it's a good thing for the city and the union.
Good evening, Council. Mike Sauger, President of the WPOA. I want to thank Mayor Stone, Mr. Fox, and all the administration, as well as you, distinguished council, for this agreement. It was highly ratified by our membership, especially with that agreement with the health care. The unfortunate incident is that we actually have somebody that does already qualify for this as we speak. We've also included language that we hope we never have to use, and that is survivorship benefit should an officer be killed in the line of duty. We are taking a step forward as a city collectively with the mayor, with your support, protecting the families of any survivors that we may have in the future, and hopefully we never have to use it. But I thank everybody for their support and effort on this.
Thank you. Any additional questions? Okay, thank you. Hearing none, I'll call the question. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Thank you, Council.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Boyke?
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Mr. Noonan?
Yes.
Ms. McGee?
Yes.
Rogan C is a yes. Motion carries. Next item.
Next item is 12D, request to approve a Covanta Warren MPF development and authorize permits for solid waste processing, transfer, and a general permit for a materials utilization facility, consideration and adoption of a resolution. So moved with discussion.
Support Lafferty.
Discussion, Madam Secretary.
Yes, we are being asked to, I'll have these gentlemen come up in a minute and explain what's going on. But I did speak with the wastewater treatment plant, Donna Durdesky, who's acting head, and they will be issuing a license, actually. And so we're not dictating the terms of the license or what those requirements are be. We're just opening bids really here for us to allow them to go forward with things they need to do. And these gentlemen, maybe if they want to come up and explain what they're doing. And I sort of dropped the ball. I have a presentation. I actually toured the facility, and I'll pass this around, but I'll send everybody. I think Ms. Camp she scanned it, if anybody wants to take a look at it.
Does anyone have any questions for the folks here?
Yeah,
Madam President?
maybe if they want to explain what they're doing, maybe?
Sure. Could you introduce yourselves?
Yeah, my name is Chad Dickinson.
Domenico Venezia?
And John Scott.
Thank you. Mr. Boyk, you can go first, and then I'll have you talk a little bit about the work you're doing. Go ahead.
Yeah, the letter you submitted to us for review stated that you could be handling non-hazardous materials and also non-hazardous liquids. You didn't cite what these non-hazardous items are in the report. I have a concern for that. Sometimes, as you know, you mix certain non-hazardous together, and all of a sudden they become hazardous. My question to you, do you have an environmental report or any reports concerning the chemicals that you're going to be using there? And and once you're done with the chemicals, what are you going to do with them? Are you going to discharge them into the sewer system or ship it out through truck?
Well, there's a whole series of regulations within our process that we use for that, and we aren't necessarily taking in chemicals. We do utilize chemicals in our treatment process, but we also have chemistry experts that handle ensuring that those things never happen.
I didn't see any kind of environmental report, or do you have one for the council to review what you're doing, what type of non-hazardous items you're accepting it there?
Yeah, Covanta has many of these facilities through the country, and they have a standard operating procedure if that's what you're...
I understand that, but
Yeah.
for this council here, for the city of Warren, before I could vote on something, I'd like to know what's there. I don't want to wait 20 years from now and find out that it's leaking into the ground, into the drain system.
Yeah, so in regards to what we do as a company, and I don't know if you're talking specifically on the wastewater treatment side, but again, we've had conversations with the PLTW specifically. So we have facilities all across the country. We have ample data to back up what we do and how we do it. So that's something that we could certainly provide at a future date if there's a request for it. Absolutely.
Well, I would like to see an environmental report of what products you're bringing in there, what liquids you're bringing in there, and how you're going to be disposing of them.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Liz Marsh. I'm with Fishbeck. I'm an environmental engineer consultant for Covanta. This process is regulated through the state of Michigan. We will apply for a permit to do these processes, but the first step to be complete in our permit application is approval of the siting for the facility. So there will be very detailed permit application documents. It's a lengthy process spelled out in Act 451, Part 115 with the state to regulate this. And there's the wastewater treatment discharge, and that is a permit through the city that Ms. Moore referenced. And then there is solid waste processing and material utilization facility, which is making an alternative engineered fuel. So, but the first step to let us have a completed application is to get siting through the city, the local body. And that's because this regulation was changed a little over a year ago, and there's new requirements in the regulation that the state of Michigan Eagle Environment Great Lakes Energy has not yet, they haven't yet followed through with that. So the county is having to develop this materials management plan, and it's not developed yet. So because we're in this interim stage of that not being developed, we have to ask for approval from both city and county. So we came to you first. So there will be lengthy documentation to have the state approve, and a permit application from the city for the wastewater treatment discharge, which has been submitted already, that we can provide a copy if you'd like.
Madam President?
Sure.
Question for our attorney, Mr. Schroeder.
Sure. Mr. Schroeder?
If we were to approve this today for the application process, and once we get those reports, are we bounded to go ahead and approve the rest of the license since we made the resolution to go forward?
I don't believe you can approve the license here. I think this is the site, it's sort of like a site plan, a construction permit under the act. I believe the state laws would preempt the city from getting involved in approving or disapproving any particular chemicals or substances, hazardous or non-hazardous. I could suggest that with this motion, if it's approved, that you might ask for a report in the next couple days, and if it's not to your satisfaction, you could reconsider by Friday. We've been doing that pretty effectively here recently. But I don't believe that the city will issue any license here. This is a permit for the siting of this under the act.
Madam Chair, if I could respond. I spoke to Ms. Dordeski, and they have been working with Covanta for over a year, and Eagle is already approved, but because of this new permitting laws and things, we have to, right?
And let me point out that one of the permits issued by Eagle involves public comment. So the public will have a chance at that point.
Yeah, this is just allowing them to start the process from here. And then wastewater treatment plant is actually going to be involved in their process because part of what they will create will be treated at the wastewater treatment plant. They will be a customer, if you will, of the wastewater treatment plant. And I saw some of what they do, like the non-hazardous materials, like they work for GM, Pepsi, big companies, and they'll take like cardboard, shipping labels, and it almost looks like confetti that you would put in a gift basket. And then that is taken up north? What goes to Petoskey or something?
Correct, to the cement kiln up north, correct.
Right, and then that's used for alternative fuel?
That's correct, alternative engineered fuel. Yep.
Okay, yeah.
Mr. Boyke and then Mr. Noonan.
Just back to Secretary Moore. I appreciate the fact that you went to the facility and toured it, but I haven't. I don't know if any other, councilman or woman have gone there. My concern is, okaying it, and later on down the line, we're stuck with it. Very similar to the incinerator when they wanted to burn stuff there. The state would have granted the license unless we did it, restopped it.
No, the state was not going to do that
Mr.
license,
Boyke
but,
has the floor.
okay.
Go ahead, Mr. Boyke.
Sorry.
So that's my concern. I'd rather have it tabled and get the reports before making a move on this, but motion's on the table right now to pass.
Madam Chair.
So,
Mr. Noonan.
Chair,
is next.
Go ahead, go ahead.
yeah. So, you're taking things like plastic and other basically combustible, burnable materials, and you're making them into sort of a pellet that cement factories can use in their kilns making cement?
Yes.
And the water processing, does that have anything to do with fracking?
No, it's mainly wastewaters from industrial processes.
Okay, can you give me an example of of an industrial process that?
So, think of an industrial facility in Warren that may have a metal cutting operation that is water cooled, right?
Okay.
A facility like ours would take that water, clean it, and then discharge it to the POTW in Warren.
So it'd have engineering oils or manufacturing oils in it that would have to be separated?
Yes.
For our wastewater treatment plant could treat it properly?
Yes.
Okay, that sounds pretty good.
And of course, we would have to meet the limitations of the Warren POTW to be able to discharge that water as well.
Okay. Does this have anything to do with incineration? I mean, a cement kiln is sort of an incinerator.
No,
isn't it?
nothing to do with incineration.
Well, if it's used as fuel, then it's burnt.
Are you talking about at the site specifically? No.
No, I'm talking about the end user. That's kind of like...
The end use of the product is as an energy source.
And so that could be a lot of plastics, possibly recyclable bottles and things like that that no one had any use for?
Typically, we're taking things that are in that category but can't be recycled
Okay,
at like a material utilization facility. So we're taking like plastics that can't be recycled and cardboards that can't be recycled, either because they aren't the right type of plastic or cardboard or they're dirty.
okay. Well, I suppose that makes sense. We need cement, so, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm glad that it's not an incinerator right here.
One of the cornerstones of Covanta is landfill avoidance. So taking things that are traditionally going to the landfill, like difficult to recycle materials that end up in the landfill, and putting them to a second and possibly third use.
Would sludge from our wastewater treatment plant be one of the things that could be put into your products?
It would depend on the chemistry of that, but
It might be?
maybe.
Okay,
There's certainly an opportunity, absolutely.
thanks. I'm done.
Thank you, Ms. Moore, and then Mr. Boyke.
No, I was just going to mention that this is, the goal of this is to keep things out of landfill. And this is, this is fitting in with, what they're trying to do at the state is, not, we don't want waste in landfills around us, and this accomplishes that goal. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Boyke?
Madam Chair, through the chair, Madam President. Gentlemen, tell me, you touched about plastic and stuff with the other councilman, but in the letter you say non-hazardous materials. Tell me what you're going to, actually, what are you bringing in? And what kind of liquid are you going to bring in that has to be cleaned up?
Well, there's a specific criteria that defines something as non-hazardous.
Okay.
So within that definition, we would be bringing in mainly industrial materials, plastics, cardboard, papers, things of that nature. And on the wastewater side, we would be bringing in organic waters as well as oily waters under the permit. So there's different chemistries on each process. The processes are completely different in the way that they're operated. So wastewater treatment has a series of treatment processes as well as chemicals that happen in that process. And then on the alternative engineered fuel side, that's a process of blending. And all material that comes into the facility before it even comes into the facility is profiled in, and there is generally analytical that comes in on each material that's coming in on a profile, where that generator that's bringing that material in has to demonstrate for Covanta in their profiling process that the material is non-hazardous. And then on the chemistry side of things, people that work for Covanta on that side will then look at what can be blended and can't be blended, and those processes are put together at a very high level.
So
Prior to any actual physical operation happening in the facility, the chemistry will be well understood, both on the wastewater side and the alternative engineered fueling side, in terms of what can and can't be done from a safety standpoint.
Are those tests done on-site or?
They're done on-site and off-site. We do have lab equipment on-site to run testing for certain things. Other things will be sent to local labs here, and analytical provided is from third-party laboratories by the generators.
So
and that needs to be at Covanta's discretion, but at minimum, I believe it's every 1 or 2 years that analytical has to be updated. And then as the material comes into the facility, it's checked against the profile that Covanta has on file with that to make sure it's conforming.
So there's a chance that hazardous material can make it to the plant, correct?
There's a lot of checks and balances in between that in terms of QA, QC. Like I said, everything that comes into the facility is known, what it is before it shows up, and then it's checked against that profile to ensure that it's a non-hazardous material.
Okay, thank you. Yield back to the chair.
Any additional questions?
Madam Chair.
Mr. Lafferty.
Thank you. Just wanted to reiterate I'm satisfied with everything I've heard tonight, and Mr. Boyke, your questions were spot on relative to the protections, and that's essentially what you're after here. With the rather rigorous testing requirements required by Eagle, I would also expect that if the wastewater treatment plant, our employees, and the department who are required to issue a permit did not agree or something was out of place, that we would also be notified and that this would be, either mitigated or rejected at that point. So we're one part of we're at the beginning, but there are several other checks and balances to mitigate any risk. So I'm satisfied with what I've heard. I would like to see the presentation, and would also be interested in a tour if you could share your contact information with council office. I'm sure others would like to join me.
We would love to have any of you out.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I have a question. Will you all come back before, and I see Ms. Dodorsky came in, so maybe she can answer. Will you come back before the body for additional approvals, or is this the only approval you need for the site?
This is the approval we need to take the next steps with the state of Michigan.
Okay. So will you end up coming back here for additional?
I do not believe so.
Okay. Okay. Any additional questions? Hearing none, I will call the question. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Boyke?
Yes.
Mr. Noonan?
Yes?
Ms. McGee?
Yes.
Rogan C is a yes. Motion carries. Next item. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I see the court staff is here. If we could remove that item from announcements, 10A, remove that from the table. So moved.
Support to remove 10A from the table.
All in favor to remove the item from the table?
Aye.
And we will hear 10A at this point.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Just waiting for the presentation to show up on the screen. There we go. Excellent.
Excuse me, sir. I'm sorry, one moment. To communications, we still cannot see the materials that are being presented tonight. I don't know if you can fix that. It's on the right-hand side.
If you could give us one moment.
It's going to be a short presentation if you can't see it, that's for sure.
Do we need to recess?
I can see if you,
You can see it?
I can see it.
What makes you so special? We've got call to order, pledge of allegiance, roll call, and approval of the agenda on ours. We're kind of stuck. Well, I guess we
We've got
can
it.
huddle over here.
Oh, yours isn't on.
All right, well, we'll all huddle over here.
go ahead, carry on.
Hi, I'm Henry Pittner with BKV Group. We've been hired by you to put together the courthouse project. And wanted to, before I start with the presentation, wanted to acknowledge two judges that are with us here, Judge Chimura and Judge Fonts. We have our court administrator and magistrate, Annette Guattari-Ross, with us, and we wanted to acknowledge the council liaison to the courts, Mr. Boyke, also. What we want to do today is kind of update you on the status of the project. It's been going on for a while, but we're looking to move on to the next phase of the project, which is schematic design. So go ahead. So we'll have 4 parts to the agenda. A little bit of a description of what we're doing overall. We did go through a variance process with the Zoning Board of Appeals and with the Planning Department overall, so we'll update you on that. We'll show you the site concept overall and then some exterior images as we move forward. So the key points, the existing courthouse is really an old facility built in the 70s. and it's two-story, with one of the stories kind of being mostly below grade as everything was built up to it. The bottom line of the facility, as you see highlighted in the red up there, is it's really physically, functionally, and operationally obsolete. It's served the community well for a long, long time, but now is the time for replacement, as you've noted. The key areas there are really safety and security, accessibility, and really the spaces are no longer compliant with the state of Michigan guidelines and on security and all of that, with separation of the circulation systems, for example, being one of the key ones. Next slide. So what we're proposing at the end of the day is a three-story building to replace the two-story building. It's modern in its planning, so we have the improved safety and security overall that is required by the state guidelines on the courts. So what that means is it's really three circulation systems that are different. You have the public side, you have the private side with the staff, and then in the middle is the in-custody movement that comes from, mainly from the county anymore at this point. So that's the big feature of a modern courthouse overall. You do have an existing security checkpoint coming in. We'll expand that a little bit and make that better and more secure with its own exit pathway. We will have daylight into the courtrooms. Right now they can't really experience the weather, and there's just a mood change as we go with that. And the idea of what our committee and the judges were looking for image-wise was something that's timeless, durable, both on the outside and the inside. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity to build a courthouse. This one's well over 50 years old, so they tend to have that kind of a lifespan. So you have to do it right. You have to make sure it's durable, has good energy efficiency, all that kind of stuff. Timeless. Next slide. So we had a series of 11 different items in the zone where the courthouse actually is, and the guidelines from the comprehensive plan and everything that's going on in that area really didn't really anticipate an addition, let alone expansion of the campus. So we needed to go through planning and the Zoning Board of Appeals to be sure that we got variances to make the building acceptable. So we did that over the summer and got those all approved. So all 11 items that you see on your screen kind of work. Some of the highlights of that really is it was set up more for what the DDA had been planning, around the whole campus with housing and commercial retail, those kinds of things. And so that obviously isn't a courthouse. And then with that also, planning had recommended that we close Court Street on the between the two roads that are on either side of the parking lot, the parking structure, so that we have safety and security going through there. So that all passed through the Zoning Board of Appeals. We've been waiting to get to the next phase so we can put that together and bring that before you for that piece there. So a lot of stuff going on with that particular site, but they all got approved at least. So next slide. So an idea of what the site itself looks like. You can see in the middle where it says existing courthouse. That is the outline of your existing courthouse, and the strategy is to build around it so we can maintain operations of the existing courthouse. The entrance is on the left side, existing, and it also provides access. That walkway provides access to the police station. So maintaining operations for both facilities while we're constructing a new building was one of the most important parts of it. On the east side of the diagram, you can see the parking. That's strictly for staff, and it has a fence around it. The good news is we have that berm that is to the street there, and having the fence and everything works really well to maintain security overall, which is as important as it can be anymore with all the activities that have been going on nationwide. So the entry sequence to the new building will come from exactly where it is now, from the parking structure and straight up. And we'll reconfigure that a little bit. It's a pretty steep hill going up, and the older you are, the harder it is to get up there, let alone for standard accessibility. So we're going to flatten that out a bit and have some ramps that are compliant with that, so that we have great access to the courthouse and to the police facility at that point. So it's, and with that then we'll basically, from that point all the way to the left to where you're entering the parking from the northwest side there, that'll all be closed off, but both access points to the parking structure will remain open the whole time, which will be really nice. It provides added security for the area. There'll be bollards and other things to keep vehicles from crashing through and all of that. But we'll have a nice turnaround right off of Court Street as it moves through. So should be nice. So that's the public side. When you see it from the public side, it's really a two-story building because we're still using the slope that exists there. So the back side of it on the east and the north side are really turns into a three-story volume with the lower area situated for parking, mechanical spaces, staff entry, those kinds of things from that. So that's kind of your site basics there. Next slide. Exterior-wise, very traditional, very judicial, with columns and but still a lot of glass along the public face of the building. And the idea there really is to justice is transparent. So having the public being seen, the courtrooms being seen from the outside, is very important in judicial architecture. The back of it is more reserved and has more of a solid feel to it, more what you'd expect in much earlier buildings. So it kind of has a nice dynamic front to back to it, and really states the purpose really well from that. Materials like limestone, durable, last forever on the outside, and that kind of make this thing really look good and are unbelievably durable for the long term. Next slide. So we've put together a couple of images, and they really work themselves around the building. So on the left side of the slide, you see an overall view from above, kind of if you were standing at the top of the parking structure, looking at the new entry and the walkway coming through it. And as you get to the walkway, the bottom picture on the left is the entrance to the courthouse. So it has all the characteristics that you'd expect in a modern interpretation of a traditional courthouse, all except for the peaked roof. But that's what makes it a little more modern in that. On the right side is, again, looking up high, looking kind of at the right side of the courthouse, kind of the end of the corridor and all those things. And we have a similar image that shows the seal of the court and those kinds of things. So there's no mistaking what you're coming for here. Next slide. And then we went around the building. So on the left side is, and it's kind of working its way around. So it's kind of the back corner of the building. So you can see the three-story volume now for the first time. And it allows vehicle access into that level so the judges have secure parking, and the staff has the other parking that's around that. And then finally on the right side, you can see your existing police facility with the red brick and the, all of that happening. So it kind of gives you a little bit of a contrast to the two facilities, but they seem to work well together regardless of that. Next slide. All done. Questions?
Madam Chair,
Ms. Moore?
on the view right before the last, the exterior views, and I was looking at the windows, and it's hard for me to tell from this view, but I just want you to keep in mind that we have to wash those windows. So it looked like there were frames maybe, and there were panes.
2 slides back.
Yeah.
Can we get that up again, please?
You know, the City Hall glass has become a problem.
Yes.
But I just want to make sure that whatever's done, that it's easy, because I couldn't tell if these had.
Yeah, so this is a pretty good view as you look around the site, so.
Those look like individual little, like small panes that might be hard to clean. That's.
Yeah, so in the back where the judges and the staff are, those are much smaller windows there. They're more of a punched opening. And it serves 2 purposes. One, it provides additional security for the staff and the teams there. And then it really signifies that that's the private side compared to the open, the glass front of the building.
Yeah.
So that'll be more like your City Hall in terms of the amount of glass that you would see in that area. We're at very early stages of it right now.
Keep that in mind, though.
Okay?
Yep, thanks.
Madam President.
Mr. Noonan and then Mr. Lafferty.
Sorry about that. While I've used, the police station and the courthouse from time to time, I found it particularly difficult to get from the garage over to the courthouse, or even more difficult to get up to the police station.
Yes.
And so I was wondering, was there any consideration to perhaps a bridge from like the second floor straight across to like maybe a door in to the court building?
So very interestingly, operations have changed in the last 5 years through the COVID era and all of that. Almost all of the arraignments from the city are being done by video, so they're no longer bringing those in custody into the courtroom through that tunnel that exists.
Okay.
So all the city's business is really done by video. The only people that are coming into the courtrooms are those that have, after their arraignment, they've been remanded to the county. So the county then will come in with their vans. We have a vehicle sally port that's inside, comes in directly. There's a direct path to the courtrooms, so they come up between the 2 courtrooms. And
My outlook is undoubtedly very naive on this, but it kind of, if all the courtroom work is done by video, then I kind of wonder why we need a very glamorous court building. I can't hear you.
She's dying.
Yeah, if you come to the microphone, everyone else will be able to hear you better too,
Yeah.
I think. Thank you. Please say your name.
Hi, Judge Suzanne Fonts.
Oh,
He's talking about the public.
Okay.
Henry was referring to the prisoners. He thought you meant between the police station and the courthouse. The prisoners are not being shuttled through the tunnel anymore. But yes, we bring in about 500 people through the doors every day through the public. And he's talking about the parking structure is very difficult to get from the parking structure, the public, to the building.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, right. Oh, thank you. Yeah.
He was misunderstood.
Yeah.
I didn't make that clear enough. Thank you so much.
That's why, that's a good interpretation there for me. So yes, what we're doing, right now there's a big hill as you're walking from the parking structure up.
Right.
And then it kind of levels off, and then it goes right back down again. And we're going to maintain that high point, but we're going to go a little bit higher so that our plaza level to the courthouse is the same level as the police station.
Okay.
So any movement between by the public up there will work. We're going to flatten that thing out a bit and step it up as we go, and then there'll be a handicap ramp that'll work its way up to that level. So anybody that needs the ramp will have it in a very
Okay.
easy method to get up there.
No bridge from the public parking.
No bridge
All
from the public
rats.
parking, yeah.
I'm pretty sure that a lot of my constituents are going, oh, rats also.
Well, We'd
Maybe rats is a bad term. I like rats kind of, I didn't mean it in any offensive way.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Well, at the end of the day, it's just, we're trying to solve it in the least expensive way to do that. And we're cutting off the road on Court Street there, too. So when you...
Why are you cutting off the road?
It was a recommendation from the planning department that we do that, and it's mainly for safety and security, so that you don't have to cross the street to get to the sidewalk that gets you to the courthouse.
Okay. I didn't have that in my mind. So
Yes.
the road that you would have to cross isn't going to be there anymore.
That's correct.
Maybe it could be a little green parkway. That would be
Yes, so we're planning to have that landscape. We still want to have access for the fire department to get through, so there'll be bollards that are
Okay.
be removable and all of that. So you still want to be able to fight fires. The
Yeah.
added benefit is the security to the police station, too.
Right.
There's those stairs that go down to the lower level
Yeah.
off the street there. So having all of that more secured is a really important piece.
Sounds like a great building, and I'm
Great.
sure you put a lot of thought and planning into it. That's really great.
A lot more to go, but thank you.
Mr.
Madam Chair?
Laxby and then Mr. Boyke.
Thank you. Before we turn this over to opposing counsel, and funny that you mentioned, Ms. Moore, about the windows, because I was at the meeting, old city council meeting, when the city hall was being discussed, and the comment was made, oh, that building will take care of itself. And we know that that's not true. For $200,000, we can clean those windows. So yes, same concerns with those. But my question is a repeat of the same question I asked the last time. Are we on schedule for a phased development? And what does the timeline look to exit the old court building, put shovels in the ground, exit the old court building, and take ownership of our new space?
So we're just starting schematic design, which is about a 12-week process, then design develop. So then we have to come back and you have to approve schematic design according to our contract. If everything works out well, then we go into design development, which is about 16 weeks, and then followed by the construction documents, which go to permit and go out for bidding. We'll have to decide during that time frame how you want to procure the construction, whether it's a design, bid, build, traditional methodology, or some type of construction manager, whether at risk or an agent construction manager. But we'll get into more of that as we move forth, and we'll have discussion points for you at the end of schematic design on that. But at the end of the day, then you really, after the drawings are done and permits are set, we'll be about 1.5 years total construction and then demo of all of that. So we're anticipating everything going right, everything continuing smoothly in Christmas of 2026. We'd be moving in, and a great day for the city.
All right, very good. Thank you for your time, sir, and thank you to our judges for being here tonight. And Ms. Guattari-Ross, nice to see you as well. And with that, Your Honor, I have no further questions.
Thank you. Mr. Boyke.
I'm a little late with this, but I'm going to ask the Madam President, anytime we're discussing the security of moving prisoners or where the judge parks, that we do not ask those questions in a public forum for security reasons. How we transport prisoners is very important. If those questions are needed by council, maybe we could have a closed meeting with the judge's staff or representative to, answer those questions for us.
That is a question for Mr. Schroeder. I'm uncertain if that's...
Well, I don't know that we can go in a closed session under the Open Meetings Act to discuss this. I would suggest maybe in groups of 1 to 3 to meet with the staff and discuss it that way, because we can't really go into closed session to discuss this. Unless someone wants to file a lawsuit, then we can go into closed session. But
Okay, understood.
Madam Chair?
Madam, any other further questions? Mr. Boyke?
No, yield back to chair.
Ms. Moore, and then Ms. McGee.
And I just want to ask this question on behalf of my teacher, Tony Baker, that everything is going to be ADA compliant, correct?
Yes,
He's very concerned about the ramps, making sure any ramps are ADA
Yes.
compliant and.
all the restrooms, all the
We're
counter
concerned as well.
spaces. Yeah, every aspect of it. I was just telling Annette out in the hall, one of the courthouses I did in California, they to test it all, they had 20 people in wheelchairs and other various issues that they had test the whole courthouse.
I was just going to ask that, if we could maybe invite Mr. Baker when things are moving along to take a look at things, because
Yeah.
he studied things quite a bit, and he's certainly taught me a lot, so.
Love to discuss it all.
That would be
It's,
great. Thank you so
yes.
much.
Madam President, I have another.
Ms. McGee, and then Mr.
Thank you.
My biggest concern is technology. What type of up-to-date technology have you done? Charging stations, we seem to be a little behind at that.
For vehicles, charging stations?
Just charging stations, like for
general,
mobile
yeah.
phones and
Yes.
things of that nature.
Yeah, so there's a lot of technology in a courthouse these days, from the courtroom and all of the monitors, the Zoom activities, so it can happen there. We're going to set it up so it could be done in chambers also, but usually their schedule mixes it all together, so it'll be in the courtroom. There'll be waiting areas outside of the courtroom, so where we can put areas like you would have in an airport, so you can charge everything with the seating that you're there, so everybody stays up to date. And then the attorney-client rooms that are in front of the court into the public space, those would all have areas for charging for attorneys and other people that are in those. So, and then you have a whole staff area that gets situated that way with all the clerk positions and all the staff positions. So it'll be well suited and modern.
Mm-hmm. Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. McGee. Mr. Noonan?
Yes, so I hope that would include public Wi-Fi access?
Yeah, so traditionally we do two different Wi-Fi. We have what would be the city's private Wi-Fi, and then you'd have an overlay that for the public. They're separate, but they use the same emitters, so you'll have full coverage that way. And then there'll also be radio coverage for emergencies, things like that. So there'll be a full system together.
Also, I'd like to ask, was using LEED architectural standards considered in this building? And I'd like to also say that part of my platform running as a council candidate, I said that I would do my best to get LEED standards adopted for every new municipal building.
Yes.
I think it was a big mistake that the Civic Center was not built according to, they said, we'll use like LEED standards. No, it's not the same. Look,
Yes.
Public transportation access would have been something. Anyway.
Yeah, our whole strategy is about sustainability and in energy efficiency overall. So we will take all those things into account. That was one of the features of our proposal as we had submitted it. So we will look at every aspect of that and get the best that makes sense to all of you, and it covers every aspect right down to the mechanical systems. And we've been working with your facilities team also to be sure that we're working together and how the building should be put together.
I think that what you're edging around is actually saying you're not actually going to work for an LEED certificate for the building.
Nobody's asked us to be LEED certified
Okay, I
at this
just
point.
want to say that
Yeah.
I would like it if you were LEED certified, but I don't know that the city is going to require that of you.
Yeah, they haven't in our contract at this point, so you can achieve it without getting the certification, but it's a nice thing for the public to understand that the building is LEED certified.
It is.
So, and then it's just a question of what that level is, so.
It's nice not to miss any steps, at least a bronze, if not a silver or platinum or whatever.
Yeah, silver's kind of the minimum anymore, and gold's readily achievable. So, you know, I'd be moving towards that gold.
Okay. Well, I'm
standard.
glad you're favorable.
Yeah,
That's really nice.
yeah, no, it's good.
I'm glad. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Okay. I will entertain a motion to receive and file.
Motion to receive and file.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item, thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll see you in about 3 months.
13A, Council Secretary Mindy Moore, this was not really me, but discussion and creation of a steering committee between the Zoning Board of Appeals and City Council with the appointment of 2 members of council to serve on the committee. So moved with discussion.
Support Lafferty with discussion.
There's actually a resolution that goes with that, and it didn't make it from my computer to Mary's office. But the resolution is just saying that we wanted to have a joint steering committee with ZBA, and I could read the whole thing, but
This would be a steering,
No, this is what we discussed previously. You're actually asking the administration to create a zoning ordinance revision steering committee. And so it's not just a joint venture between the ZBA and the council. It would be a citywide zoning ordinance revision steering committee that includes at least 2 members of council, ZBA, and planning, as well as representation from the DDA, the building division, and administration. And so, and it's also requesting in the upcoming budget proposal that funds be appropriated for a consultant with expertise in planning and zoning to lead a process to revamp the entire zoning ordinance and work with the steering committee and competitively bid it like they did with the master plan consultant.
and
So-
some of this may be in place. There may be a consultant that's already started some work, but this will just feed into that. And I would make a motion to ask Mr. Lafferty to be on the committee.
I'll accept that.
So we'll separate the motion. So one to approve the
Ordinance?
Can you read it since we didn't, I know.
Sure.
you're reading it.
Whereas the City of Warren Master Plan was updated on January 12, 2021, and whereas the master plan indicates that the zoning ordinance is a set of regulations that provide details of how and where development can locate to exacting specifications, and that the zoning ordinance implements the master plan, and there is a direct relationship between the 2 documents, and whereas the master plan indicates that the city should consider revisiting the zoning ordinance to ensure that the 2 documents are in sync so they can be effective planning tools, and whereas the City Council and Zoning Board of Appeals held a joint meeting on February 5th, 2024, and the City Council heard concerns of the ZBA members, and whereas the ZBA members indicated that there are numerous out-of-date zoning ordinance provisions affecting both residential and commercial properties, and that many zoning ordinance provisions should be revisited. And whereas the ZBA members also indicated that there are various parcels throughout the city that have a zoning classification that is not consistent with the master plan, and some of these parcels should be considered for rezoning. And whereas city council members have heard these concerns, and the council wishes to explore a comprehensive rewrite of the zoning ordinance to meet the current and future land use needs of the city as outlined in the master plan, and whereas the master plan revision process was overseen by a steering committee that represented various city officials and departments. Therefore, be it resolved, the City Council formally requests that the administration work with the City Council office to establish a zoning ordinance revision steering committee that includes at least 2 members of the City Council, ZBA, and Planning Commission, as well as representation from the Downtown Development Authority, the Building Division, and the administration, and be it further resolved that the City Council requests that in the forthcoming proposed 2024-25 fiscal year budget, that funds be appropriated for a consultant with expertise in planning and zoning to lead a process resulting in the preparation of a new/revised zoning ordinance for the city, working closely with the proposed steering committee, and that the selection of such firm be competitively bid in the same manner as the master plan consultant.
Thank you. So I have a motion from Moore and support from Lafferty. Does anyone have any discussion? Further discussion? Okay. Hearing none, I will call the question. Ms. Moore?
Yes?
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Boyke?
Yes.
Mr. Noonan?
Yes?
Ms. McGee?
Yes.
Rogan C is a yes. Motion carries. I'll entertain a motion for nominations for this committee.
Nominate Mr. Lafferty?
I'll accept that nomination.
Support, anyone?
Support?
Support
And
McGee?
McGee got it.
Yep. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Mr. Lafferty,
Thank you.
congratulations. Anyone else interested?
Mr. Boyke was on ZBA.
Mr. Boyke, would you like to be nominated?
Sure.
Okay,
If you were on ZBA, that would, before, right? Were you? That would make sense.
okay.
Support?
Ms. Moore, are you making that motion?
Yes, make the motion. Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Noonan, support. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item.
Next item is 13B, Council Secretary Mindy Moore and City Treasurer Lori Barnwell exploring a land bank authority for the city of Warren. So moved with discussion.
Support Lafferty.
Discussion, Mrs. Moore.
Yeah, thank you. A land bank authority's mission is to return blighted and vacant properties in a community to productive use. They utilize a variety of programs to make home ownership and land purchases accessible to residents. A land bank also focuses on compliance with property maintenance and zoning laws and increasing occupancy and home ownership. Due to a state law, if the county did not form a land bank authority by February 18, 2024, an individual community with a population of over 50,000 can create one on their own. The City of Warren would qualify as a community that could form a land bank authority. The County Board of Commissions opted to not form such an authority. I will note that Commissioner Nard is in the audience, and I believe she voted in favor of the land bank, as did Commissioner Song. Am I correct? I did have, Lori has, Ms. Barnwell has had conversations with Oakland County. She has a relationship with their land bank person, and I've discussed it with several people in our county that are experts, and the county executive was in favor of it, the county treasurer. I don't know where the commission got bogged down, but I think that this could be something that could really benefit our city. We all know that we need to increase home ownership, especially in some of the southern part of the city, our underserved areas of the city. And so I would request that we explore a proposal, pardon me? Oh, yeah, like, you know, the mess we had on Dodge Avenue that was just awful. Had it gone through a land bank, you know, a lot of these problems that this young woman is facing, she wouldn't have had happen. So I think this could be a great opportunity for us, and I understand there's money at the state available that's left, you know, that's available for us to get in some way or another. So my request would be that we explore a proposal for the Land Bank Authority for the City of Warren, work with legal counsel to meet with State of Michigan land bank officials, and report back to City Council with recommendation.
Any additional discussion?
And this does require, at least at the county level, the executive, the treasurer, and would be the Board of Commissioners. And we'll have to get the details of what it requires from a city, but we were just going by the assumption it might be the treasurer, the council, the administration.
The land bank authority of the state's anxious to talk to us.
Yeah, they are anxious to talk to us. So I think this could be a really, really great thing for us. And Ms. Nard was in my ear for many weeks. I remember we were at the, where were we? State of the County, I think, that you were telling me it's a great thing. So anyway, that would be my motion, that we have legal counsel speak with the land bank officials and report back to us with a recommendation.
Any additional discussion? Okay. If hearing none, we'll call the question. Ms. Moore?
Yes?
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Boyke?
Yes.
Mr. Noonan?
Yes?
Ms. McGee?
A big yes.
Yes. Rogan C is also a big yes. Motion carries. Next item.
Next item is 13C, presentation regarding the Bear Creek spill and updates from the wastewater treatment plant on safeguards. I see Ms. Dordeski. This is Mr. Lafferty's item, I believe. Motion to approve, I guess. Or
Support Lafferty. With discussion, Madam Chair.
Good evening, council members. Donna Dordeski, acting Division Head, Wastewater Treatment Plant.
Good evening, ma'am. Thank you for coming tonight. This is in response to the spill that occurred on Thursday, February 8th. My request was in 5 parts rather, and a couple of follow-up questions that I'm sure the council will have. But we wanted to give the public reassurance about the quality of our drinking water and the safeguards that are in place and proactive measures that wastewater treatment, the City of Warren, and the State of Michigan, the Department of Eagle, are taking to protect our natural resources. So thank you.
Sure. I'll try to address each part individually. And first of all, I'd like to start with thanking for the opportunity to be here to update you on this event, and as well as address any other questions that might follow the update. So the event occurred on February 7th. Sometime in the morning, around 10:30 or so, our industrial pretreatment program staff had been notified of discolored water in Bear Creek. They immediately responded and started tracing the source of that discolored water. Within around 4 or so hours, they were able to narrow the location of the facility to a facility on Mound Road. And as it turns out, the facility had been sold. It was a vacant former plating company. It was sold to another entity, and there were chemicals with still remaining chemicals inside of it. And prior to it, sometime there was a cold spell of weather, and it appears that internal plumbing failed and it resulted in flooding of a facility, and the discharge came out outside of the building and entered the storm sewer. So once the discharge and facility or source was identified, we had followed our procedures that pertain to spills. And this particular one, we had notified all relevant agencies such as Macomb County Public Works Office, Eagle, and eventually EPA also was involved. Once EPA was involved, the involvement of the city resources, they took over the investigation because it's a higher level entity, and they conducted review and cleanup of the resulting spill. So the spill from the facility ultimately made it to the county sewer. The facility isn't located in the Mound Road, and all sewers within county roadways, they are under jurisdiction of Macomb County Public Works or Macomb County Department of Roads. The flume or the discharge made it to the open portion of the Macomb County of the Bear Creek drain, and booms were installed to keep it from moving downstream. In addition to preventing of the spill moving downward the creek, the sewer, the enclosed portion of approximately 800 linear feet of sewer was vectored to clean up the material that made it there and the sediment from it, and that was majority of the cleanup that was performed. The other stuff that made it to the open county drain, it's being monitored, and additional sampling is being conducted to evaluate impact of that spill onto the waters of the state. Eagle had posted a couple updates on their websites, and they show all the details, including analysis of the sampling that had been performed. And all agencies are constantly staying in a constant communication until the facility performs complete cleanup inside of it.
So, Mrs. Dordesky, the site that caused the contamination is still, as you said, it's currently being cleaned up, so that has not been completed but the contamination event has been stopped and it's contained. Is that a correct statement?
Correct. The discharge had been stopped, terminated the moment it was identified. There was no more discharge. However, inside the building, there are still chemicals, and those had been, the process of cleaning it up is ongoing. There's still chemicals. IPP division from wastewater treatment plant, our staff is overseeing that. They're communicating with the property owner. Documentation is going back and forth, and we're making sure that any activities being performed, we're aware of it. We will not stop until it's completed.
Okay, and can you restate, if I know I heard you, but I would like to restate, where was the majority of the contamination located, proximity-wise?
Within the pipe, approximately, my understanding is about 800 feet of pipe of some sewer that was vectored out and cleaned up, and that was extracted from the pipe.
Right,
sediment.
But specifically, do you have a location of where that contamination was located? Was it?
Well, once it left the facility, it entered a catch basin, and then it traveled down the storm sewer until it reached the Bear Creek drain. So whatever was left over on the bottom of a pipe that was cleaned up, vectored out, or and removed from the pipe, so it didn't progress down the further down the creek.
Okay, so we're from 10 Mile and Mound, the source, the green sheen, so to speak, was located behind where Bear Creek empties out beyond Mound Road on its way to 12 Mile. Is that correct?
Just north of 696, that's where the drain opens up upstream, meaning south of 11 Mile Road, that's enclosed. So it's an underground pipe system. So the discharge made it from the facility to the catch basin that's located in the parking lot, and then through the pipe system further down the collection system to the open section of the Bear Creek drain. That's about 11 Mile Road, right up by the BP gas station at 11 and Mound.
Yes, that's exactly where I'm referring to. All right, and then the result and analysis, we do know what kind of chemicals were involved in this contamination?
Correct. Details are shown of EGLE and EPA. They posted entire analysis of their finding and the results they performed, so they're available on the website. And we actually we made put a link to it on the City of Warren website, so residents they're able to look that up, and it's available.
Okay, and at any time was the drinking water available to Warren residents affected?
We do not suspect. We do not think so. Our water system, drinking water system, is a pressure system. We get water from GLWA, and there are water wells. I think one of the questions that you presented, if there are water wells within City of Warren, yes, there are, but there are very few of them. Most of those wells, they're either construction related, or a lot of them are abandoned wells, or a lot of them are for short-term, like investigation wells or drainage for irrigation systems. So any water wells that are under jurisdiction of Macomb County, within Macomb County, they're under jurisdiction of Macomb County Health Department, and any water well that is to be drilled, there are permits required, and I believe Macomb County Health Department and EGLE must authorize those. So there is information on EGLE's websites about water wells within the entire state of Michigan, as a matter of fact. But we do not think, there's very few of those in City of Warren, and probably in the Elder area, like in the Chicago, Mound area, possibly. But we do not suspect that any of them were affected.
Okay, so in my experience of door knocking, I did come across several houses, very few houses that did have a well legacy well on their property, still working. They use it mostly to water gardens and flowers and things like that, but not necessarily for drinking. But there's no registration of those wells either with the city or with the county, is there?
With the city, I do not believe so because we don't have jurisdiction over that. That's usually done through Macomb County Health Department. And I believe in City of Warren, at least the data that we obtain is about 25 or so, between 21, 25, because some of them actually showed up in Warren, but they're not when you delve into the researching the data. They're incorrectly listed in Warren, so there's just over 20 of them or so.
Okay. And perhaps we could look at, we have the water bills where we have the inserts, and maybe there's a best practice that could be shared with anyone that has a water well, and contamination event, no event. Is there a best practice that that your department or the county could share with anyone that has one of these legacy wells? Click on this link, visit this site on how to test your well, how to obtain a test, and ensure the safety of your drinking water.
Sure, we can make that happen. Actually, Macomb County Department of Health has a great website with all the resources for drinking water, for testing, and for other activities and items sponsored and provided by Macomb County Health Department. So we can provide a link on our City of Warren website for the City of Warren residents and public.
Okay. And then the biologics at the wastewater treatment plant, would these have been affected had any of these chemicals gone into the sanitary sewer?
At the plant, probably not. The amount of water that was discharged at that facility would not made a significant impact had it made through the sanitary sewer, through the waste. Unfortunately, it made it to the storm sewer, and there are two different systems.
Okay, and I know from previous interaction that the water is constantly tested, and you're constantly monitoring the quality levels for any threats.
Correct, at the treatment plant, yes, daily.
Okay. One of the items, and thank you very much for this information. I do hope that some of the information that was presented tonight does set minds at ease that there was no threat to our drinking water, that the measures were taken proactively or reactively rather to contain the situation as it occurred. But one of the proactive measures that I'd like to see is to implement a closure of an industrial site. So with any site, and we receive, these site plans for, multitudes of businesses that open. There should be, if you have to go through a rigorous inspection process, you have to obtain city certifications, you have to obtain permits. In closing a site like this, I have to wonder if we had an exit strategy with the building department, with the city, where you have to obtain a permit to close your facility, be inspected, be signed off by the city. Are all of the dangerous or hazardous chemicals that are present on the property, have they been contained? Have they been removed from the site? Is the site clean? And does it meet minimum standards that ensure the health and safety of the public? So that's one of the items I'd like to take away from this, is a recommendation to the administration to look at establishing, if they don't already have one, but preparing and establishing an exit strategy for all businesses that deal with hazardous waste chemicals. So I would like to add that as an amendment to the receive and file. Thank you, Ms. Dordesky.
Madam Chair?
Are you,
I'm complete, thank you.
Mr. Noonan?
Thank you. So I understand that the closed operation, when the new owners bought it, they turned off the power. The heat to the building was stopped, and a pipe burst from freezing. And I'm curious as to whether the building has heat now and whether it has other pipes that might break. And I don't know whether anyone's checked in on that, but it seems like one of the minimum standards for letting an industrial operation or operation that has hazardous materials in it that could be released through broken pipes closed would be that they would have to maintain heat, have a plan to maintain heat indefinitely until the building was repurposed and cleaned out. And ideally, it should be cleaned out. But I guess I don't think we have state legislation that the so-called polluter pay would ensure that polluting companies would clean up after themselves. So I don't know, what do we do in a situation like this? Would you have any suggestions?
Well, the first thing that happened after the facility was identified to prevent any additional water be discharged, once there was the cause was identified, the City of Warren Water Division had shut off the water to the facility, so they have no more water. There's nothing that can go through the system to add to the situation that had happened until the facility is brought to compliance and passes all the inspections and corrective actions are taken prior to the next occupancy.
So it was a freshwater pipe that broke, and then chemicals that were in the building were flooded out by that water?
Inside the building, internal plumbing.
So they can have their heat off now and it's okay?
There's no water to the facility. It's shut off outside the building, correct. At the stop
I think that's
box.
pretty good news. So also, I know that I've heard of aquifers and watersheds. And I'm not a scientist, I don't have a degree in science, but I believe there's an aquifer under the watershed. And it seems like there's a chance that these chemicals could have spilled into it, could have sedated or whatever into it, gone through the ground into the aquifer, and anyone for quite a distance around, it's hard to tell how far pollutants might spread through an aquifer. Do you know anything about the hydrology of that? Is that something that's been considered in this case?
I am not an expert in this area, but maybe in a plain language I can explain a little bit. Basically underground there is water that's like veins of water, and that's where you have a water well. Then when you drill, you tap that well and then you extract the water. Is there a potential? There's always a potential for contamination of the groundwater. However, with the soil conditions in Warren, we're prevailing clay soils, and at the depth that those aquifers are, it's highly unlikely that it probably would happen. It would have to be extreme conditions that right there. But in this particular case, the discharge went directly into the storm sewer pipe, and majority of the sediment that stayed in there that probably contained majority of the contaminants, it was extracted out before it made it out. The lighter water, the colored water, and certain amount of chemicals, yes, it did made it to the open drain, but any heavy materials or the sediment that was stayed in the pipe we had, or the people that responded to it, it was cleaned out before it made it to the
Oh, okay. That's very reassuring, because I thought that most of the contaminants had gone down, had come out through the waterways, and I'm glad that sedimentary contaminants were probably most of it, and that's been remediated.
That was part of the cleanup that EPA, EGLE, and all the other agencies that participated, that they
Do you have any idea how much it costs to do that?
I do not have exact costs, but it will be probably substantial.
Do you think there'll be any accounting for that for the public's record?
There's always potential for cost recovery on each agency that was involved, and I believe City of Warren also has the cost recovery ordinance for that. I think at this point the most important thing is trying to work with the property owner to make sure that the contaminants, anything that's remaining in there, is removed and properly disposed of, and after that, we'll assess all the costs. We're keeping tab on or calculating all the hours, man-hours, all the costs that had been spent on doing analysis, and at the end of it, we'll evaluate what other course of action is needed to either recoup those costs or take further action. But at this point, the most important thing is to make sure that nothing more leaves that facility, that it's properly cleaned up and disposed of.
I thank you so much for your very good conversation on this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Miss-
one follow-up
Sure,
question.
Councilmember Boyke.
Through the chair. You answered the recovery. That was one of my questions, so that's taken care of. Have any violations been issued or being pursued?
Yes, there has been one.
Thank you. You don't have to elaborate on it as long as you're doing it.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Any additional questions?
Madam Chair?
Madam President, through the chair.
Ms. Moore, then Mr. Dwyer.
While Mr. Odeski's here, we did have a conversation earlier this week, or it was last week, I guess. And once the weather is a little bit better, she invited anyone that would like a tour of the wastewater treatment plant. If you've not been there, it is really something to see. And I actually haven't been there since, I think, 2003, maybe 2004. So I'm sure there's some changes since I was there. So I might take you up on that this summer too. And actually, it's on a beautiful piece of property. So anyway, if anybody wants to do that when it gets nice, I think you'll be glad you go.
Sign me up.
Thank you. Thank you. Councilmember Dwyer.
Just one last question through the chair. So all the costs incurred in this incident as far as the cleanup, the testing, and all of that, that is going to fall back on the owner, the business owner of that property, I assume?
I would not be able to, because there were so many agencies involved and they have their own processes, but typically whoever caused or was the source of it, typically they're responsible for costs related.
So no cost should be coming back to the city of Warren with this?
Pardon me?
None of the costs incurred should come back to the city of Warren with this as far as the cleanup, the testing, or anything like that?
From other agencies? Is that what your costs from other agencies?
I'm just wondering if the city is going to be on the hook for any expenses with this, as far as the cleanup, the testing?
I wouldn't think so, and yes, right now, as I mentioned before, the priority is cleaning up the facility. We're tabulating, keeping on track of all the costs incurred, and then appropriate action will be taken.
Okay. I'm just curious, because I got to believe at the end of the day, it's going to be a pretty good tab. So, thank you so much.
And the owner is working, he's cooperating, the owner is cooperating with the city of Warren and communicating all actions that are being done, and we're inspecting or stopping at the facility and reaching out to them to make sure that what they do, that we're aware of what's being done out there.
Okay, thank you. I have nothing more.
Any additional questions? Mr. Schroeder?
Yes, I was having a flashback to 20 years ago as I was listening to Councilmember Dwyer. We do have a hazardous substance response cost cleanup ordinance to charge the person who's responsible for this. So I recall this from many years ago. So it's investigation costs too, as well as the cleanup costs.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Lafferty, if you could restate your amendment. You wanted something additional from the administration?
Yes, so it would be proactive measures to implement following the closure of a commercial or industrial company, similar to the permitting process for establishing a site, that is permits, certificate of occupancy, et cetera, to submit to an exit process that includes those same inspections. So establishing an exit strategy for the building department to enforce city certs and compliance with all codes and regulations to ensure the health, welfare, and safety of residents where this business, where a business may be engaged with hazardous or waste materials.
Got it, thank you. Makers of the motion accept that amendment? Okay. Hearing no further discussion, Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Boyke?
Yes.
Mr. Noonan?
Yes.
Ms. McGee?
Yes.
Rogan sees a yes. Thank you very much. Next item.
Next item is D, Council Secretary Mindy Moore and Councilmember Jonathan Lafferty, discussion and referral to Environmental Review Subcommittee following the Michigan Food Waste Roadmap by outfitting city facilities, for example, a fire station that produce food scraps with food digesters. Motion to approve, discussion.
Support Lafferty.
Discussion,
Yeah,
Mrs.
so
Moore.
the governor has an initiative to stop food waste and do what we can, keep food waste out of landfills. And one of the things that is being implemented are food digesters. And if you sort of think in small terms, like we used to have trash compactors in our homes. And they're using digesters for cruise ships and big facilities that produce food. I can imagine like cafeterias on campuses and things where we don't really have much in our city that we own, and just, the fire stations came to mind because they have 3 meals a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So, but I think that if we could study it and see how it can be implemented, businesses around the city, that there may be some sort, where there might be grants, there might be something from the state, but there might be some incentive for businesses in the city that produce food and, food waste, that this sort of technology could be implemented. I just thought, I don't know, it's anaerobic digesters, I think it's, and I don't know the exact technology. That's why I thought maybe we would refer it to the subcommittee and they could look into it.
Through the chair to Mindy. So this would be a pilot project, and you're thinking fire stations because they like to cook?
Well, they cook all the time.
Uh-huh.
I mean,
And they
maybe it's not feasible, maybe they don't, but just a home, they want these even in people's homes. That can be a good thing. So, I mean,
Okay. I remember that we spoke at some point about this a little bit, and I was thinking it would be something like where the digester would be on the fire department property somewhere, maybe, and people could bring their food.
No. This would be for their use, like it might be in a kitchen.
Okay.
Just like in a kitchen with a compact.
Okay.
Used to be.
So there'd probably be like rules as to what kinds of food could go into it, and the people using it would have to know.
I had Mr. McAdams all worried that I was going to turn his stations upside down. I said, it was just an example of, I know that that's what they generate.
Maybe we
food
can
scraps.
look into it and figure out if the fire stations aren't the best, maybe they are a good place for it, in which case we could do a pilot project.
Yeah, or maybe there's something else.
If not, maybe there's somewhere else where we can do it, and that could be part of.
Yeah, why not lead the way if we can?
Uh-huh,
Or
well,
see what other people are doing. I think it's worth, we've created this subcommittee, and let's give them some more.
okay.
I've seen them locations
guess so.
at the apartment buildings. so.
It probably wouldn't be my top priority, but,
It is one of the top priorities of the governor. Get on board, Hal.
hey, yeah.
Ms. McGee.
If Ms. Moore and Mr. Lafferty, councilman and councilwoman, want to get this into our city, I think that's worth at least examining.
Thank you.
Ms. McGee, you
Yeah, I was just saying, I've seen them at different apartments, and sometimes they have them at, it's a shared compost between neighbors. So I've seen it happening. It's been happening for years, going on for years.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Madam Chair.
Councilmember Lafferty.
What I was going to suggest is, in thinking of large facilities, we have General Motors, we have the Stillwell and Joe Coach on site, as part of city operations. But external, we have Macomb Community College, and that even brings up, they have biological studies. They probably have resources that the subcommittee may be able to tap into as expertise, bringing expertise in to help advise. So
That sounds really good. That's a very good lead.
Mr. Lafferty has the floor. Mr. Noonan, sorry.
He's
Mr.
got a
Lafferty,
propensity.
anything further?
That's all.
A good lead.
Yeah. It's, yes.
Thank you.
Mr.
Oh,
Noonan?
I just want to thank you so much for giving us extra work to do.
Yes. So the motion is to refer this to the Environmental Review Subcommittee to then report back to council on some options and further discussion.
Options and further discussion. I like that.
Okay. Any additional discussion here? No? Okay. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Boyke?
Yes.
Mr. Noonan?
I've created a monster, yes.
Ms. McGee?
Yes.
Brogan C is a yes. Motion carries. Next item.
Great idea, Ms. Moore.
Thank you. Next idea.
Item.
Next item is 14A. Request, is this the police department one, Mary? Yeah. Request of the police department to purchase 5 2023 Dodge Durango all-wheel drive pursuit vehicles from Van Dyke Dodge in the total amount of $144,906, consideration and adoption of a resolution. So moved with discussion.
Support Dwyer.
Discussion, Councilmember Moore.
Thank you. I don't think anybody's here from the police department, but as I mentioned, this was put on because these vehicles are available and we have to get them when we can. I'm sort of interested in pursuit vehicles, whether they have ballistic panels in the doors. I kind of deal in the safety issues and things with car companies, and I was actually working a case this week on ballistic panels and police interceptor vehicles and some of the technology that goes in them, and I was hoping that we have the ballistic panels in our pursuit vehicles, which I think would be a good thing. I don't necessarily want the answer publicly, but it would be nice to know. If I think it would be a good thing to have. We don't have the Crown Vics on the side of the road getting their gas tanks blown up anymore, so that's a good thing.
Right? Or, Madam Chair, after you.
Mr.
Whatever.
Noonan?
Yeah. Or maybe they could be retrofitted, and other possible recommendations from whatever appropriate recommending panel for police equipment that we can get. I wouldn't mind, for instance, having the city possibly pay $5,000 more to improve those cars to the point where they're safer for the police. If that was what was required, I'd rather not have to pay any more. But when they purchase these Dodge Durangos, those are just basic Dodge Durangos? No, these are specially built police cars, right?
Can I answer?
Yep, Ms. Moore?
They usually, like if it's a 3-row vehicle, they'll take out that 3rd row seat because they need more room in the back and they only use the middle one, but it depends. And, sometimes they'll have, cross beams in the back that make them a little stronger.
Uh-huh.
It's called like an X brace back there.
Okay.
And I know the outfit, they have to put the bar, the light bars and all that kind of
Roll bars.
things on, and they have to have the dividers, and, I mean, we buy vehicles, but they all have to be upfitted in some way, and then if they're undercover, then they don't have markings, but if they are.
I think you're saying that basically it's assumed that they will be retrofitted to meet the grade for whatever task they're going to have to.
Yeah, and certainly they have, the consoles are taken out, because they have to find a place to mount things.
Right.
Usually, and,
Yeah.
of course, the outside, we have our logos and our
Right.
city,
Sure.
identifier.
Okay.
But I don't know what these are going to be used for, but I would just like them to be as safe as possible.
Thanks for allowing the discussion. I appreciate it.
Any additional discussion?
Madam President, through the chair, yeah, I would go for it because I think it is definitely money that will be well spent to keep our officers safe.
Okay. I will call the question. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Councilmember Dwyer?
Yes.
Councilmember Boyke?
Yes.
Councilmember Lafferty?
Yes.
Councilmember Noonan?
Yes.
Councilmember McGee?
Yes.
Brogan C is yes. Motion carries. Next item.
Next item is 14B, resolution approving DTE overhead and underground easement at 3637 Shaner and to waive the reconsideration period of council's action on this item. So moved with discussion.
Support Lafferty.
Discussion, Madam Secretary.
Yes, I think Mr. McAdams is in the audience. He can probably explain what's going on. But when he gets up here, I want him to tell us something. Tell us what happened this week. What came in? Furniture. Furniture,
Yes.
finally.
95% of it came in. What didn't come in was the bed frames. Mattresses came in.
Oh, those were bad looking. Some of
45 of the 47, 43 of the 45 recliners came in. There was a few things missing, but all of the bed frames were missing. So, but
yay.
the company has promised us they will be delivered shortly. They have been distributed to the stations. All of the old stuff has been had a special pickup for that. So they are sitting on all new recliners. They are somewhat bigger than the old ones because these are heavy duty.
They're made for fire stations.
Yes, they're made for fire stations and they're made for big people. So.
And no pleather.
And they should hold up. I got great reviews from other departments that have used this company, so we're hopeful. And now that we're past the COVID event, we won't be using I think it went out to ensure that there are no germs being passed from person to person via the furniture because it is a semi-hard surface.
Yeah, well, that's really great news. Would you like to explain what this DTA issue is?
Yes, DTE requires us to give them a right-of-way, both above ground, air right-of-way, and a underground right-of-way for the relocation of the utility poles for both fire stations. What's before you tonight is is for station number 5 on Shaner. The poles have to be moved to essentially the back of the property because as they now sit, they cross the middle of the property and middle of the fire station. So we had to have them relocated to the rear in order to provide clearance for the station as they would come into contact with the secondary lines. So that's why we need that, and DTE would not move forward with the relocation until they have the right-of-way in their hand. Resolution approving the right-of-way for them in their hands. So with your assistance, tomorrow we will be hand-delivering that to them.
Thank you. Any questions?
Madam Chair?
Councilmember Boyke.
The lines are going to be moved to the back, and they would be where residential property is?
Well, they will remain on our property,
Okay.
yes.
So it won't be on a common property line, it'll be on our...
It will be on our property, yes.
Okay, thank you.
And the poles have to go in because on Shaner, there was an issue with drainage. And then we are building a privacy wall, an 8-foot wall to ensure that light from incoming fire apparatus does not intrude on the neighbors behind us to the west into their property, into their windows. So we are creating a wall and a potential flooding situation.
So therefore, we are putting drainage into each backyard behind our wall, and it will drain into our storm system. So there will be no cost to the residents, but, well, I guess it is a cost to the residents because they're residents of Warren, and overall, they pay the taxes for us. But yes, we're doing this. We have to do this for those homeowners.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional question or discussion? Okay. Hearing none, I will call the question. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Lafferty?
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Boyke?
Yes.
Mr. Noonan?
Yes?
Ms. McGee?
Yes.
Brogan sees a yes. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Madam President, I request a 5-minute
Recess?
recess because we've been in session for 2 hours and 17 minutes. and I could use-
Motion to go in recess.
Thanks.
Support Lafferty.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're recessed for 5 minutes.
Cool. You're with me. Yeah, because I see it in text. Let's go. Well, that thought crossed my mind too. I'm like, you're so busy with your regular job. Right. I'm getting all these Zoom interviews or.
We will resume the meeting. Recess is over. Next item.
Audience.
Members of the audience who would like to address City Council this evening may do so under this audience portion by filling out the general audience form located at the right side of the stage. First is Pete Sutliff.
Okay, hello. This is a very unusual situation where I have so many things concerning the environment that I could talk about, that it's a lovely opportunity. I wanted to first initially speak about the Bear Creek spill, and I think that, can we not take action against the former and current owner of Finney Finish? I understand that there have been some violations have been issued, but at the very least, they should be banned from doing further business in the city. And I appreciate Councilman Boyke's questions to Covanta in the same vein. We have to be very careful about what hazardous materials are being stored in our city, even temporarily. I would like to know how many facilities in Warren do have hazardous materials. Is there a database of these materials that could be used by the fire department when they go to put out a fire? I would think that we would have that. And I don't know if Councilman Lafferty said this in his remarks. I was writing something down that Mr. Schroeder said, but I think there should be regular inspections of any facilities that have hazardous material, so their storage conditions aren't allowed to deteriorate to the point where there could be spills into our waterways. I also appreciate Councilman Noonan's questions to the courthouse representative about LEED standards. For a moment, I thought that was not going to be mentioned at all. So we should certainly, try to have a minimal environmental footprint. Lastly, I want to say that the ZBA steering committee, the zoning board steering committee, hopefully they will take into account any new ordinances adopted by this council on recommendations of the environmental review subcommittee having to do with the tree and vegetation ordinance. Some of the most important parts of Royal Oaks plant ordinances are zoning ordinances. So any of you who are involved in that process, that's section 770-90.
You're out of time, Mr. Sutliff.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Mr. Jerry Bell.
Good evening. As I was saying before I was rudely interrupted by you, Councilwoman Rogancy, I was directing my conversation to Councilwoman Mindy Moore, who we've known for the past 4 years and a few months have constantly verbally attacked our city attorney, Ethan Vincent, who we're not seeing sitting over there in the back. And I was kind of wondering, Councilwoman Moore, I see that you don't pay attention when I'm talking, but it's okay, you hear me. Do you want to tell us that you kind of bullied the mayor into firing Mr. Vincent? You want to tell us what that's all about? Continuous bullying. Now you're even bullying our mayor, or trying to. You're not the mayor, you're the council secretary. You are a very, very, very disparaging woman towards African Americans, and it has been shown. I can remember a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, when Councilwoman McGee chaired our only meeting, the same meeting that you claim, Ms. Rogan-C, that you were out of town, which I think you were back in enough time to chair that meeting, but you went AWOL on us. But you, Councilwoman Mindy Moore, you disrespected Councilwoman McGee. That was very disrespectful, with you trying or telling her how to do the job that she should have already known how to do. As a matter of fact, you guys should have took a day or maybe 2 days before the council meeting and went over what you needed to go over, so therefore you wouldn't make her look bad. You made her look bad, and you knew it. You are a lying, conniving woman. I don't even know how you even made it back on the council. Maybe you cheated on that, or you paid your way back in. I don't like you. I don't like your politics. You're very disparaging. Now, you all ran on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and what? What's that? Transparency? You can't even look at me because you know you're wrong. And you know I'm not buying your BS. You all ran on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And guess what you did? You constantly went after our African-American city attorney.
Mr. Bell, your 3 minutes are up.
I didn't even hear you say 1 minute yet.
I don't have to give a warning, Mr.
Yeah. Okay, turncoat. Like I said.
Your time is up, Mr. Bell.
You,
please have a seat.
Mindy Moore, are a racist.
Mr. Bell.
And I'm
time
making
is
a
up.
complaint against you.
Can
okay?
you please ask
have a good night.
out?
Please have a good night.
Thank you. David Rousey. Mr. Bell, you can leave the meeting. You're welcome to leave now, and we don't. I'm asking that you depart the meeting. If you're not going to follow directions, Mr. Bell, you're not going to be welcome in this meeting.
I'm not disrespecting you.
You have. If you do it again, you will not be welcome in the meetings.
Oh, you would like that, wouldn't you?
Please have Mr. Bell leave. Thank you.
You would like that. Because you know I'm not going to buy your BS.
Go ahead, Mr. Rousey. Apologies.
Good evening, Council. My name is David Rousey, and I'm coming here today to speak to you about some situations that have occurred with me and my grandson at the swimming pool here at the Recreation Center. It seems that the lifeguards supervisors have violated myself and my grandson, and I made a point to speak with the director of the Parks and Recreation, Mr. Tarico Kata.
Mercado. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and I have not received a response to my complaint. And I feel like originally, let me back up. Originally, he reached out to me to find out what was going on because his subordinate told him that there was an issue, and he assured me in this conversation, our original conversation, that my grandson's swimming rights and whatever would not be violated, and he would take care of all that. I explained to him that wasn't the issues that I was having with the recreation center. I had a issue with the treatment that I had received from the lifeguard supervisors. I don't know, is it possible I can hand you a copy of the, thank you.
Get to Ms. Camp.
I provided that letter to Mr. Tarico, and after I provided that, I haven't heard anything. I was expecting him to at least contact me with his findings. He said he was going to look into what was going on and I haven't heard anything that would say to me that this is going anywhere further. I'm here with you today because I'm hoping that maybe you can help me find some resolution so that I can feel comfortable with bringing my grandson here to the swimming pool without any interference with any bad blood between myself and the swimming staff or whatever is going on. The outline of the detail of what took place is there in the letter, and I'm just hoping that you can help shed some light on how I should go forward with this.
So I apologize in that I have not read this letter, but whatever mistreatment occurred, if you could provide your information to Ms. Camp, your phone number, I have your address. Yep, Ms. Camp on the end. Is it at the top? Oh, it's here. So we can discuss this and reach out to you and follow up and make sure that your complaints are heard.
Well, I really appreciate that.
Yes, we'll send it to the mayor and the Human Resources Department.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you for your patience in sitting through this meeting. Next is Curtis Ashtosh.
Good evening, Council. Curtis Ostosh, resident and pastor here in the city. I want to address a couple different things. First of all, last meeting, Ms. Moore had some issues and concerns about the homeless population. Mayor Stone said that the homeless population can use the libraries. Apparently that's a problem. The warming center that's on Chap, they don't have the funding. They got no funding from the city, no funding from the county this year. They previously got funding from the county, and they're going to close on the 28th of February because there's no funding to keep it going. This season, starting in November, they've served 700 people. It's interesting, that's 700 human beings. We can't just be dismissive of these 700 people. Also, the issue that Ms. Moore brought up last time about the porta potties. Apparently you don't know much about what's going on in the southern part of our city. Most of the porta potties that are in the southern part of the city, they're put there by Consumers Energy to do, because they're doing work in and around the area, replacing gas lines. And those aren't for the homeless. But you know what? Homeless people sleep in those because they have no other place to go. So those aren't provided for the homeless people. They're for the consumer workers that have been doing construction throughout South Warren, putting in new gas lines. Also, you know, you told Ms. Michaels here earlier, Ms. Moore, that as a city attorney, she reports to the city council. That's what the city charter says. You know, there's too many cooks in the kitchen, and this gets back to Mr. Schroeder. Why isn't our city attorney up there, or a city attorney from the city up there instead of Mr. Schroeder? I have no idea. You guys talk about sunshine and transparency and everything else. What is the deal with Mr. Schroeder? I've asked several of you. I haven't got a straight answer. I would like a straight answer. We don't even know who's on first, who's on second. And then, you know, the whole issue is, I mean, we're going to streamline our legal thing? Why don't we work with our own city attorney as the charter tells us to? You know, to our city attorneys, this guy and your program is disingenuous at best. We need to do something about it. And Mr. Lafferty, last week, you questioned my point of hypocrisy. You don't see it because you're in the middle of it. You're in the midst of it. You got blinders on. And what are we doing with the ARPA money? If we don't spend and we don't commit the ARPA money, we're going to lose it. You got this year. You, Mr. Lafferty, said we were going to meet for coffee and discuss that because you said I was all wrong. Your city budget says you cut the money. And if we don't allocate the money soon from ARPA, it's gone. Our city needs every dollar it can. We shouldn't be wasting money on an outside attorney when we have very competent city attorneys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Commissioner Michelle Nard.
Good evening, council and residents. I just want to read something really quick. In a world increasingly divided by suspicion, fear, and the seductive allure of isolationism, I stand before you today to champion the often overlooked yet vital force, diplomacy. Diplomacy is not weakness, it's not surrender. It is the art of navigating complex relationships, of building bridges where walls threaten to rise. It is the whisper that can calm a storm, the outstretched hand that can avert conflict, the understanding that can bridge divides once thought unbreachable. Some may scoff at its seemingly slow pace, its nuanced language, its emphasis on dialogue over force. But let me tell you, in a world where weapons hold immense power, the power of words, of understanding, of building trust is a force to be reckoned with. Think of the countless wars averted, the crises diffused, the lives saved through the patient, persistent work of diplomats. Think of the trade deals struck, the environmental agreements reached, the pandemics tackled through international collaboration, all facilitated by the tireless efforts of those who believed in the power of talking, not fighting. Diplomacy is not about blind appeasement. It is about knowing your adversary, understanding their needs, and finding common ground where it exists. It is about recognizing that even in the face of stark differences, a shared humanity binds us all. Yes, there will be times when diplomacy seems to fail, when words feel inadequate in the face of aggression, but even then, we must not abandon its pursuit, for even the most hardened heart can be softened by genuine understanding. Even the most entrenched position can be shifted through persistent, respectful dialogue. In a world teetering on the precipice, diplomacy is not a luxury, but a necessity. It is the weapon we wield against ignorance, the shield we raise against hatred, the bridge we build towards a more peaceful, prosperous future for all. Let us therefore champion the art of diplomacy. Let us support our diplomats, encourage their efforts, and celebrate their successes. Let us remember that in the grand orchestra of human interaction, diplomacy plays a crucial role of setting the tone, harmonizing differences, and composing a symphony of peace and understanding. And I just wanted to say—
You're out of time, Ms. Nard, sorry.
Oh, that was 3 minutes. Okay, thank you.
Joel Vanderlinden.
Joel Valen, longtime Warren resident. Well, it's interesting what the people have to say. Ms. Moore, you were chewed a new one for doing nothing wrong. You assisted a fellow human being and made her look good. On her first time, she's new to the council, new to the system, and she did a fine job and you helped her out, and I thank you. Mr. Schroeder, Pastor Convict cannot understand that you are the attorney for the council. The city attorney doesn't answer to this council anymore, obviously, ever since Fouts and this crooked bunch was here. Maybe Pastor Convict can stop coming here, yelling and screaming into the microphone, pull the hair out of his ears, and finally listen to what's going on around him. To talk about the new courthouse, there was a few things that was missing, same thing that was missing when they came about City Hall. There's no basement. And you say, what do we need a basement for? You need the basement for storage. You need the basement for a tornado shelter. You need a basement with a pathway to the police department if there's an emergency at a shooter or something, for an extra way to clear the people from the rooms and get them out of there. Now, I understand security is a very important thing, but so is safety. Now, I'm not sure where the new courthouse is going to go, but the idea came out about bringing a bridge from the police station to the second floor parking structure, so it's easier for the ADA, the people in wheelchairs, people like me with a walker, to get to the police station or to get to the courthouse. Those of you that don't go to the courthouse that often or go into to the parking structure, the fire elevator closest to the courthouse every winter breaks down. Every winter it freezes. Every winter everyone is forced to use the stairwell next to it. So what is someone in there that's like me in a walker or in a scooter supposed to get down all those flights of stairs without a running elevator? If you had a bridge, we could drive across.
You're out
If
of
they're
time,
going to
Mr.
close the
Vanderlyn.
road, you might as well
Your 3
put a
minutes
bridge
are up.
right across it.
Mr. Vanderlyn, your 3 minutes are up.
What?
Your 3 minutes are up.
Well, you didn't stop no one talking for 5 minutes last council
Mr. Vanderlyn, and your 3 minutes are
You
up.
broke all the council rules
Your
that this
3 minutes are
council
up, Mr.
agreed to.
Vanderlyn, and please have a seat.
You let people walk
Mr.
up
Vanderlyn.
without filling out a sheet.
Mr. Vanderlyn,
You
please have a
lost
seat.
control of this council.
I'm going to have to ask the police to also come and have you have a seat, and/or you're not going to be welcome here as well, along with Mr. Bell.
You cannot kick me out of this meeting.
Please have a seat.
I will leave, but you cannot kick me out
Please
of
have a
the
seat.
meeting.
Your time is up.
You've lost control of this council.
Next is Muqtadir Shora.
Good evening, council members. Peace be with you. My name is Muqtadir Sheriff. I'm here to basically follow up on some items I brought up during the last council meeting. Ideally, I'd rather just kind of, if at the very least, open up a line of communication on some of these requests. The first one was regarding the process of providing information to residents when they're given a warning that their property is at risk of being demolished, and providing them information so that they can take proper measures and find proper assistance when needed, where needed, wherever possible, however possible, be it city, state, or federal level assistance. I do have access to some of, I guess, sources of information, like just, I guess, personal knowledge due to working with my mother on properties from within Warren myself. So I would like to kind of extend that grace towards the residents that are having trouble keeping up, again, with their own property management and maintenance. Second, just kind of following up with that first point, is if in any case residents are unable to kind of follow through with recommended measures, procedures, and follow up through, I guess, the available resources that are available, that if there can be a process set up for the city to essentially help with that cost and, of course, process as a whole. And the third item was, again, regarding the property with my mother's attempt to appeal for her license renewal violation that she was that was in place upon her after she had already paid for her license renewal fee plus the late fee. She had been given a violation for about $300. She was unable to appeal for that, and her request to appeal resulted in a response that she would have to pay another $300 in order to appeal for that violation itself, even though she had already paid for her license renewal. Yeah, if, again, for the prior two, all I'm really asking for is like a line of communication to kind of follow up on these and if possible, just maybe even collaborate on setting up procedures, protocols, anything of the sort. Yeah, thank you.
I have a question. The license that you're speaking of, your mother, a resident of Warren, that's a current,
It's a rental, with a rental license renewal.
is it a current issue?
I believe she had already paid for, I'm not sure if she might have already paid for the violation, or I do have to check in with her.
If you provide your phone number to Ms. Camp, we can follow up on that.
Okay.
And then the additional items are geared towards the administration and the mayor's office, so I can connect you with the mayor's office if Ms. Camp, if you give her your phone number and email.
Sure thing, thank you.
Next is Wesley Arnold.
Sorry, I'm old, folks.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Wesley Arnold, 81-year resident of Warren. I've known as the old historian. I'm the guy that gave the People Council a DVD with 21,000 pictures and passed them out to the audience last week. That's available to anyone who wants one online at warrenhistory.info, warrenhistory.info. That's not why I was here. I'm here short and quick to speak a couple points about homelessness. I'm a longtime social worker also in Warren, and we do currently have perhaps almost the worst homeless situation than we've had in many years. And it does not seem to be getting better at the moment. This is a serious situation. We have hundreds of homeless in the area. And folks, just so everybody knows, it's not just people that are out of work. It's people that have mental illness, that people can't find a job, that people that lost their home because the landlords raised the rent and they weren't making enough money. But folks, it's also homeless families, women with children, young children. And we have many, many homeless, and they need a place to go temporarily. Fine. Now, there was some talk about Owen Jacks. I haven't seen any action yet on that from the mayor's office. I'd like to ask them to get on it because there's people that need help, and we need your help. But my main point tonight is that this homeless situation isn't just a real simple thing. It's complex. People need help, and they need social work help. They need someone to connect them with resources, financial resources, job resources, housing resources, things like that. So the city council and the mayor really need to address this problem because we have people that need help. And it's not just them. They go out, and I had a guy sleeping in my backyard. We have people in the libraries, as we see. And where do they go at night? They go into residents' backyards, residents' properties, many other places that they can find.
Mr. Arnold, your time is up.
Did you say up, or was it 3 minutes?
Nope, you're up. You've had 3 minutes.
Thank you very, very much. Please address this homeless situation.
Thank you. Entertain a motion, or next item.
Next item is, no, wait, council comment. Madam Chair? There was a gentleman that has some issues, and he would like me to speak about them. It's dealing with Motor City Bar, Motor City Sports Bar on 8 Mile. And the complaint is loud music from 10 to 2:30 a.m. on Friday and Saturday nights. The amount of people showing up between 10 and 2 a.m. They're parking on Elza and Albany and essentially tailgating on both streets, not even going in the bar. They're causing major disturbances, noise, overcrowding, hanging out in the street, being loud and obnoxious. They're parking in front of residential homes. There's drag racing up and down Elza and Albany Street between 10 and 2 a.m., as well as cars revving their engines in the parking lot of the bar. The amount of trash and liquor bottles being thrown out on our properties for us to clean up in the following days. There are arguments in the bar parking lot, fights, gunshots ×3, and there was a stray bullet that went in this gentleman's home. He's got pictures of all kinds of things, you know, liquor bottles, trash, looks terrible. And there is, you know, loitering, and, you know, he offers us possible solutions of no parking signs installed, you know, along the street, security from the establishment, people shouldn't be allowed to tailgate or shut the bar down, which is kind of what I would think. We did it before with Airden Hall because it became a problem. That was on 8 Mile. And there's a Clemis report of all the runs they've gone to this bar, all these places. So I think that we should send this, I don't know if we send it to the administration and see if they'll take action to, you know, maybe they can amp up police, maybe they can put no parking. The problem is you put no parking and then the residents can't park. So that creates a problem for the residents too. But maybe you can put hours, or maybe you have to put a permit, maybe you have to be a resident to, you know, I don't know if we do that here. Do we do permitted parking? Police officers? We did in Roseville.
By the police, you got a police report?
Oh, yeah, a lot of them.
Oh.
Yeah, so I think we should start there, see if we can do some things right off the bat to maybe clean that up. Maybe, I don't know, if we can do something with the parking, have upped police patrols in that area. If not, take action to shut them down as a nuisance. So that's what I would, you know, we can do that. I'll give that to Mary, and she can make a copy. And former councilman Billy Barnwell is in the hospital. He is the father-in-law of our treasurer, Lori Barnwell, father of Bill Barnwell, former senior housing commissioner and lawyer extraordinaire. And we would send our best wishes to him and hoping for a speedy recovery.
Sure.
Yes.
So I read this as council response to audience, and I was thinking of that as audience participation. Is this also a time when council can bring up matters that the council might want to deal with in the future that they've heard from their constituents?
That would be best. I'm sure you could. It's our time. But that would be best to send a request for the agenda item for Ms. Moore to put on for discussion, similar to how Mr. Lafferty and Ms. Moore put items on the agenda today.
Okay. Well, Ms. Moore was just bringing up an item that wasn't, I don't think, in response to the audience.
The gentleman is in the audience.
Oh.
And he approached me and asked, he wasn't comfortable coming to not everybody is.
Oh.
He just asked me if I would relay his concerns.
Oh, that's really nice. Thank you for straightening out that, because I wasn't sure whether in a different body that I was on, the members all had a chance to say something at the end of the meeting, whatever they felt like saying.
Go ahead.
The rule was put into place, we've seen in other communities where, you know, there's audience, so it's a chance for council to respond to what was said at audience right here.
Right.
You know, sometimes people might get up, they might lie and exaggerate about you, and this is your opportunity to set the record straight, or they might say something nice and you want to respond, or you may want to address a concern, like, you know, if there was a neighborhood issue, to say, hey, you know, you brought that up, we're going to make a motion to send it over to the administration. It's a response to audience, because generally the rule is you don't interact with audience when they're speaking, right?
Correct.
They have their 3 minutes, and then when they're done, they're done.
Right.
And otherwise, it would be this back and forth.
Right.
And it would, you know, it'd be just chaotic. So this is a chance to respond to what was just said tonight.
Okay.
And so I think you just used this as an opportunity to speak for somebody who didn't want to publicly.
And I probably violated it when I said best wishes to Bill Barnwell.
Yeah.
All right.
That's it.
Okay. Well, thanks very much. I'm willing to consider the idea of adjourning. May I
Okay.
make a motion?
Madam President.
And Mr. Lafferty, Mr. Lafferty, and then I'll come back to you.
Just wanted to help clear up another misconception that was illustrated tonight by an audience member relative to the ARPA funds. And the previous council did hold sessions with the public. We captured a number of great suggestions as to what to do with the ARPA funds that the city received post-COVID. And we also hired a reputable firm called Guidehouse to provide us knowledge base and analysis as to how those funds could be spent legally and within federal regulation. As when you receive federal money, it comes with rules, and you have to spend it a certain way. Now, one of the tactics of the previous administration were to send items to this council or to send budgetary items that appear in this book, the budget, and it is the responsibility of this council to make sure that those items that go into this book are sound, have all of the necessary backup material, they have proposals, they have an estimated budget, and they fit within the guidelines set forth by the federal government. The items, as described tonight, that the former council, or as was pointed out, certain members cut the ARPA funds from the budget. While the cuts are very accurate, the statement that ARPA funds were indeed cut from the budget is accurate. They were not removed simply because we didn't want to spend the ARPA money. We're very well aware of the schedule that the ARPA money has to be spent by, and so it is up to the mayor's administration to propose the projects and send those over to the city council as part of the budget process that we are going to be entertaining here very shortly. That is going to be the major focus for the next few months. I expect the city controller and the relative department heads that are going to be involved in that process to bring their proposals forward. I am certain that the new mayor will follow those rules and propose only sound projects to this council so that we don't have to go through that arduous process once again. And so in our cooperation with the administration, in working in harmony, I expect that to be a very mutual beneficial conversation, one where we're going to come to an agreement and work through any differences in a diplomatic way. So let the facts speak for themselves. And it doesn't matter how loud you state them at the microphone. When you illustrate a lie and you try to perpetuate it, it does not matter the volume that you say it at. A lie is still a lie. So, thank you.
Madam Chair?
Thank you. Mr. Noonan.
It was interesting when I was speaking to the controller that he said at this point the remaining balance of ARPA funds can be spent any way the city wants to. And I think he was suggesting that it mainly be spent on safety officer salaries, which it seemed like there are a lot of different ways that it could be spent, but I don't know. It was you're talking about ARPA funds, and I know that they expire at a certain point at the end of this year, right?
2025, and if we wanted to put this on the agenda to discuss it, we could.
Sure, okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
True, I'm out of line there.
It's okay.
Pardon me.
We're all learning.
Interesting thing about ARPA, though.
Any additional council comments? Okay, then I will now entertain a motion to adjourn, Mr. Noonan.
So moved.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned.